everybody. I know. We are going to get started. First of all, I would like to apologize because I put a typo on the text that I sent Brad on the timing, and I'm like, hey, where are you? He's like, you told me 2 o'clock, look above. And I scrolled up, and yes, I told it 2 o'clock. But he will be here in about 20 minutes. Mary is going to get us started. She's been through this a bunch of times, so we're in good hands. But before we get started, and you guys hear me say it all the time, all the training we offer is only as good as you guys participating, paying attention, taking notes, and more importantly, implementing what you're learning and going through the exercises and really giving it your all. This is one of the reasons why Keller Williams is so amazing and why we were voted, best training company out of any industry. This course is going to really help you get your career going, be Rookie of the Year like Sandra here, and you're in good hands with Mary. Enjoy the classes, really participate, pour yourselves into it, and you'll see the results on the other end of it. So enjoy, and I'll be popping in and out. Mary?
Thank you.
Rock and roll.
Okay, so a few housekeeping rules before we get started. Everybody have a name card, either in their binder or that I gave them separately. Your name card, I know what you are. So it's really important that you bring this name card with you to every Ignite session that you come to. There's going to be different instructors and different facilitators and different featured agents at each of our Ignite sessions, and they may not have had the opportunity to meet you yet. It does really enhance the classroom environment whenever I'm able to call someone by name or acknowledge them or thank them for their answer, their contribution. Second thing, we are working on coffee right at this moment. We do have coffee in the kitchen, but for the rest of Ignite, we're going to do our best to have coffee in the back of the room ready for you guys. Number 2, you're going to want to bring this packet with you to every Ignite class. Who in here has been through Ignite before? Okay, what can you tell us about your experience at Ignite in this binder?
Good, that's why I brought the binder and I'm back a second time.
Awesome. Sandra?
For me, it was one of my biggest eye-openers because I just started in August and I took it in the fall. And it was just like to hear the different views of different agents and how they do business because we all do it a little bit differently. So it was definitely a lot of takeaway from, you get to pick and choose and be like, oh, I can totally relate to that person doing business. And yeah, it was absolutely ignited my business.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So the only thing that I really want to add to that is there is kind of a structure to Ignite. The beginning part is really kind of, you're assigned homework every time that you leave and are sought out to go and get your homework done on the Tuesdays and Thursdays, or maybe it's on the weekend that you're actually making phone calls or developing your database. We really do expect you guys to take that seriously, to come back with prepared materials, anything that you need for the class. And then there's a separate part where we actually bring in a featured speaker relevant to the topic that we've chosen to really speak on experience and to give you kind of a real world perspective and their secret sauce about something they really excel at in that particular area. And if you have any questions about the homework missions or anything like that, you are more than welcome to ask me. Okay, so did anyone complete mission 1? Okay, so this will be something that you'll definitely want to look at and complete over the weekend. The cool thing about this Ignite session is you actually get an extra few days because the next one won't be until Wednesday at 1. The office will be closed on Monday. So you just want to go through and check off mission 1 and then make sure that you built out on your calendar the rest of the Ignite sessions and you have a plan, at least which ones you're going to go to. As far as the binder goes, if you're receiving a binder for the first time, we will go ahead and bill you $100 for the binder. And if you attend all sessions, I'm going to pass around an attendance sheet in a minute once I get you guys started in an activity. We're going to be keeping track. If you attend all 12 sessions, we'll reimburse you as soon as Ignite is over. Any questions about that? Okay, cool. So we're going to go ahead and get started on, it's my page 5, it's your page 7. Welcome to Ignite. So you guys might be in here for various different reasons. Some of you may have been in the real estate industry for a little while, closed a few transactions, and you're really wanting to step up your game in 2018. Maybe you have been on the other side of real estate. Maybe you've been a transaction coordinator, you've worked as an assistant, you've known someone in the industry, and you know a good deal about maybe the industry as a whole, but the day-to-day specific activities and how to really hold yourself accountable to those is the piece that you're missing. So you guys keep in mind that everyone in here may be at a different level. Feel free to still bring your input and anything that you want to contribute. We're here to learn, and this is a learning environment for all of us. So just to kind of get our head in the game, I'd like to start out with a little bit of reflecting and thinking on why we're all here and kind of where our mindset is right now. And when you get to the end of this journey of Ignite, you're going to revisit this, and it's going to be, as Sandra said, really eye-opening to see what you've accomplished and what kind of goals you've set out that you hit during this time. So I'll give you a few minutes, and I'll get the sign-up sheet going around the room, okay? Does anybody need a pen or anything? We're good to go? Awesome. Do you want a binder?
I have one. Okay. I'm not sure I'm on stage.
Don't have to have super long answers here, just quick jotting down. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to at least read through all the questions. I'm actually going to call on you guys as a group to give me some feedback. So if you don't raise your hand, I'm going to actually start calling you by name. So I hope you get used to that, because I'm actually not as strict as some of the other instructors are going to be with you. If Tanya was here, she would want me to say that. So first question, have you achieved your financial goals through your career so far? Why or why not?
Which career?
Real estate.
I would say yes, so far. I'm sticking to my budget.
Nice, so you've set a budget and you know what your expenses are and you're sticking to that. Nice. Anybody else? Did anybody put no? Anybody brave enough to say no? Okay.
Because I'm a full-time student, got a full-time job.
Okay. It's a pretty good reason. Anybody else?
No, because I still want to be a millionaire.
Okay, that's nice. So your goals are really high. You've set aggressive goals for yourself, so no, you haven't hit those yet. That's okay. That's honest. That's fair. Yes.
No, because I work for the post office full-time.
Okay. it's impressive that you still decided to continue and that you're pushing through and that you're here right now. That's awesome. Okay. Second question. What is the one thing that makes one real estate agent more successful than the other?
Lead generation.
Commitment.
They have a process or a method that they follow.
Okay.
Systems.
Systems. So the interesting thing, the first answer I would have put down would be lead generation.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to lead generate successfully, you've got to have systems, you've got to have a process, and you've got to commit to sticking to it, right? Awesome. So why don't all agents do this?
Life.
Life?
I know why I don't do mine.
Sandra, why do you think that you don't do that?
I don't like structure.
Don't like structure, okay?
It's not easy enough.
It's not easy enough. Yep. So it is hard. It's hard, and if you're not disciplined, it can be even harder. Life comes up. Time management, very, very important. Or maybe some people feel like they're not skilled enough. Maybe they have, large knowledge, extensive knowledge of the real estate industry or the market. Maybe they feel more like they're the economist, but they're not skilled enough in talking to people. It's difficult for them.
Maybe it's Netflix.
Maybe it's Netflix, yeah. I've heard from people before that they also don't think that lead generation is important, which is kind of crazy, but I did want to mention that that is not true. Okay, I think we already hit that. How do you feel about that? Is your desire to succeed more powerful than your fear from doing the one thing that will make you successful?
Here.
That is true. And what I was going to add to that is there may be parts of this that make you uncomfortable, where you just want to walk out the door because you're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make phone calls. I don't want to call my aunt that lives in Missouri and tell her that I'm in real estate. Maybe you haven't talked to her in many years. I don't know. But remember this, your desire to succeed will help you push through the difficult parts of Ignite and your career getting started in real estate. Okay? Awesome. You chose Keller Williams as the vehicle to reach your goals. Ignite helps you build the momentum to get you there fast. Would you agree? Yeah. Scott, would you agree?
Yes.
Awesome. Is anyone here familiar with the 6 personal perspectives? Anybody else? This is your first time hearing about the 6 personal perspectives. Okay. So, in my experience with 6 personal perspectives, really they overlap. And if you are familiar with Keller Williams at all, you know that culture is extremely important here. And a lot of our culture values overlap with how we hold ourselves accountable and how we help others. So, the most successful at this business know that it takes a certain mindset and attitude to keep it every day, and especially to excel. Fortunately, Keller Williams Realty has a foundational model for a successful mindset, which came into existence when Gary Keller asked the question of hundreds of top agents. And I'm going to ask this question to you right now. What is it that differentiates those who achieve at a highest level from those who don't seem to accomplish as much?
Mindset. Oh, it's up there too. Tenacity.
I'm sorry?
Tenacity.
Tenacity.
Context.
Contacts. After thoroughly researching this question, Gary discovered that all high achievers have 3 basic attributes in common: mindset, attitudes, and a certain approach to life. Do you guys feel like you have the 6 personal perspectives in your perspective right now, where you are? Not perfectly. What do you mean by that?
Well, saying like no limiting beliefs. I think everyone has some level, some areas of limiting beliefs.
And what's a limiting belief that you have?
And I need to have more scripts down before I can be effectively
Maybe fear of failure, fear of picking up the phone and calling someone, and then your script or what you have to say to them not being the best it could be.
Maybe, but I think more than that, for me, it would be more about wanting to give them best service. And if I'm not really prepared with some of that, then I'm going to feel like I'm not the best for them.
Okay, it's one of my biggest struggles. Starting out new. Those are my biggest ones. Thinking that you're not knowing everything they need to know, but then keep in mind, you're the expert here. Whichever way, you're going to know more than they do, and regardless. So that's where you need to.
So to add on to that, did you see in your binder here? You have a script book. Okay, so that is one testament to the fact that even though we may have limiting beliefs and we think that there's something stopping us from getting where we need to be or where we should be in the process, there's always going to be something that we could be utilizing that we have accessible right in front of us, right under our nose. But I really appreciate you sharing that. I think a lot of us have felt that way at some point. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Are you guys familiar with the 80-20 principle? We have coffee in the kitchen, and it's free. It's free, so you don't need coins if you would like a cup of coffee. Also, if you need to go to the restroom, please just go ahead. You don't need to ask. Don't you come back. 80-20 principle. I know you know what that is. You want to explain it to us?
So 80% of your business comes from 20% of your actions and your work that you put in.
So if we focus on, Scott, you're closing that, I'm really good. It keeps coming open. So if we focus on very specifically commit to 3 activities every day, 80% of our business is going to come from 20% of how we spend our time. Okay, so we have to make sure that our 20% comes first. When you're prioritizing your day, what do you think might be in that 20%? Lead generation. Can anybody tell me, by the way, 3 types of lead generation? Just give me one. Anybody?
Worker sphere.
Worker sphere, cold calling, I think I heard.
Expired.
Open houses.
Open houses. There's one more I'm thinking of. Door knocking, farming, all of those things, right? So having a plan, not just saying, I'm going to spend 3 hours lead generating today. Maybe your lead generation looks different Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On Saturday, it's definitely going to look different. You're holding open houses, right? Having a plan and hold yourself accountable to that. Awesome. So self-mastery is the possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits that make you the master of you. What makes someone a master of their own self? Anybody know? Master of yourself.
Accountability would help.
Accountability. What are you holding yourself accountable to? Your goals, your commitments. What might be something that keeps you from achieving your goal? If you let it, if you're not looking for a certain word here.
It's not measurable goal.
It's not a measurable goal, so it's got to be a SMART goal. Specific, measurable, all of those things. Yes, your weaknesses. Is that what you said? Yes, Chris, that is correct. We have to be aware of our strengths and our weaknesses, because those are going to be the things that either propel us forward or hold us back, right? So self-mastery is knowing your goals, knowing your strengths and weaknesses, and knowing how to work with both your strengths and weaknesses to seek and master the necessary knowledge, skills, and habits to reach your goals. Just because something is a weakness doesn't mean that you can't turn it into something that's going to actually help you, propel you forward. Maybe it means you need to leverage, right? Throughout Ignite, you'll be acquiring the skills and developing habits to be successful, moving yourself towards self-mastery. And the more that you take this and run with it, if you will, if I may say that, to do the steps, follow the missions, some of it's going to seem like, I really don't want to do this today, I just want to show up and put my name card up and listen. The more that you commit to self-mastery and work on that constantly every day and make it a priority for yourself, you're going to see that manifest in your business as well. So committing to the 80-20 principle, the idea that 20% of your actions lead to 80% of your results. We already kind of touched on this one, but we're actually going to identify your 20% in Ignite. So when you leave Ignite, you're going to know what that is. Does that feel kind of good? Maybe you don't know what that is right now. And that could be your first point of struggle. Figuring out what that is and knowing how to implement it. Moving from E to P. Does anybody know E to P? Okay, so E to P is entrepreneurial to purposeful. Okay, so right now, maybe you're here because you want to start your own business. You're all entrepreneurs. I don't know if you realize that yet or not, but you are. Taking that to the next level and being an entrepreneur who is purposeful. Let me explain a little bit about what that means. High achievers are always looking for the purposeful way. By doing this, they break through the ceiling of their own natural behavior. So those strengths and weaknesses we were talking about, you're actually going to break through those. They're not excuses anymore. They won't be in this room, I can tell you that. When I'm asking you to make phone calls, anybody else is asking you to write letters, to make a plan for your lead generation, it's not going to be anything less than thinking with a purpose, okay? You can attain a certain level of success utilizing your natural abilities, but expect to hit a ceiling at some point. Anybody done that before? Anybody thought, I'm capable of doing this on my own. I'm a great salesperson. I can sell anything. Thought that before? Were you a little bit successful with it? Maybe for a little while, it was working for you. And then you hit a certain point where someone else with that same natural ability that you have is right where you are, okay? And then they hire someone, they hire an assistant, or they get better at their scripts and see where they're moving. And you're still counting on your natural ability. You're never going to be the best. You're never going to be a high achiever, okay? Ignite is not only designed to help start your business, it is designed to help you grow your business. Ignite will help you move from entrepreneurial to purposeful with skill mastery. Okay, step 4. Learning-based. Does anybody know what learning-based means? It's probably one of the easier ones to guess. Yes, Erwan?
If you have an action plan, you really need to know what kind of skill you need to learn in order to achieve that goal.
Okay, I like that.
I was back on the EMT thing.
Oh, okay. You want to add something?
Yeah, I think the entrepreneur is the one who's, oh, I think I'm going to go into business doing this. And then the P would be when you're actually doing that with a purpose and with a plan. Right?
Yes, with a plan. Absolutely. So for me, learning-based is being open-minded, approaching everything from curiosity. And, maybe something that you thought was going to work before, someone tells you there's a better way to do it. Maybe you don't agree at first, but you're coming from a place of curiosity. I want to at least know what they think is the better way to do it. That's going to serve you well in this class. So a learning-based individual is an individual who has made the decision to use effective learning as the foundation piece for their action plan to develop their life. That's huge. It's being humble as well, knowing that you don't always know everything. It'll transform the way you live in your personal and in your professional life. Training and education are a big part of moving forward to attain your goals. Would you agree? I need a loud yes there.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you. Learning-based individuals commit to the process of acquiring skill-based habits. Skill-based habits, okay? So getting the skills and forming that into a habit. It's not just learning a skill or forming a habit. It's those two together that make this really work. Ignite is just the start for you as a learning-based individual. Hopefully, all of you guys are attracted to this company for many different reasons, but I hope that one of them is that we offer a lot of training here. So coming to Ignite and coming to all 12 sessions and then never showing up to another training again, because you're going to learn a lot here. You could leave Ignite and pretty much know the step-to-step process of following through with the transaction, from the point of getting business to closing a deal and keeping up with past clients. That doesn't mean that this is the end. You've got to stay learning based. There has to be a foundation. These 6 personal perspectives have to leave here with you and be ingrained. Okay, step number 5. This is my favorite one. Remove your limiting beliefs. We touched on that a little bit. High achievers remove beliefs from their thinking that hold them back. You just get them out. In order to successfully develop at a higher level, you will need to clear your mind of limiting beliefs first. For example, are these any of the thoughts in your head right now? I'm going to read them out. I have to be an expert and know everything before I can begin my business. I'm not valid yet.
It's a big one. I need to be an expert.
But you want to offer a certain level of service, right? I can't be successful yet. I will need to invest a lot of money to kickstart my real estate career. Anybody in here feel that?
A little bit.
I felt that
Some
before.
money.
Because I'm in the business will come to me naturally. I don't need to devote 3 hours each day to lead generation. She's shaking her head on that. For sure. Terrible. So I want you just to take a minute, maybe 2 minutes tops, to write down the most profound limiting belief that you're experiencing right now.
Are those the pages that's supposed to correlate with session 1? Or
yeah. You want a different book?
no, I brought my knife. Like, this is the book.
All right, who has a limiting belief that they're willing to share with the room?
I don't want to begin all over again.
Okay. Valid. Anybody
So
else?
what was that? You said?
That I didn't want to begin all over again.
So Betsy, explain to the class kind of just why you'd say that.
I've been in the business since 1992, and I took time off. And in that time, the world moved very quickly, but I didn't, and I just don't want to start again.
Totally valid. Anybody else? David?
I'm afraid I might burn out on lead generation before I hit critical mass.
I feel like I might not do the same sort of quality of care for my family that I have in the past.
Okay. That committing to this might create that kind of space in your life. Got it. Okay, I want you to just take a moment. Are you going to share yours?
Yeah, I don't know. I believe I don't know anyone in San Diego.
Okay, you believe you don't know anyone, or maybe you think you don't know enough people. That's valid. I'm not running here.
You know what? I can back that up, and that was me too.
Yeah.
And I did how many transactions in 6 months? 16 or 17? So don't. That's a definitely limiting belief. It is a limiting belief. I didn't feel like I knew anybody either.
Yeah, I'm more worried about it for this big night than I am out there. In
This
the
is
world.
your opportunity to get all those people, all
Yes,
those new
it
people.
is.
Your world is your oyster. Just go. Whoever you meet. I always wear my name tag. I don't care. I'll solicit anybody for business. I have no shame.
Absolutely. Okay. So just when you take a second, I want you to look at the sentence that you wrote down. All eyes should be down on a piece of paper. I want us all to say together, I have written down a limiting belief. Can we say it on 3? 1, 2, 3. I have written down a limiting belief. 2. Okay. I'm not going to live by this limiting belief. Okay. 1, 2, 3. I am not going to live by this limiting belief. Awesome. Okay, so the last one on our 6 personal perspectives, sorry, I spent a little bit of time on that one. That's my favorite one to identify. Be accountable. Accountability is first and foremost an attitude and an approach to your entire life. And actually, we as staff are talking about integrity this week as part of our weekly stand-ups. And part of that is accountability. So if you think that you're a person who formulates decisions based on integrity, being accountable to your business, and even telling your clients that you're a person of integrity, this correlates to that absolutely 100% of the time, okay? An accountable person says, everything in my life is a result of my choices and my actions. I own my life. Accountability is also a tool for continually changing the results in your life in those areas that matter most, your 20%. And what did we identify as our 20% earlier?
Regeneration.
Yes, thank you. A person who is accountable in their 20% says, I own my life, and in certain areas, I want to continually improve my results. I will be purposeful, and I will be learning-based to continue improving. Notice it didn't say anything about limiting beliefs. They're not in there. Ignite will provide you with tools to develop and cultivate your accountability to be successful. Okay. So, are you guys ready for the first exercise of the day? Okay. So, getting the most out of this experience. You've been to Keller Williams training before. So, we actually talk about this part, getting the most out of the experience. We're actually on page 12 if you have the new reminder. At every Keller Williams training that we go to. Really just identifying your mindset coming into the training. So you've begun an exciting journey towards sparking your career. You showed up, you've committed to being here. Next, what you really need to decide is what type of learner you're going to be, okay? Does anybody know, or can anybody tell me the definition of a capper?
I mean, it's the threshold for commission that's earned.
To receive 100% commission, right? Does anybody in here want to be a capper? Should hear a loud yes. Should be very exciting yes. Okay. So I'll say to you now that you all are cappers in training. You're not new agents. You're not realtors. You're not someone who showed up to Ignite. You're not an Ignite student. You're cappers in training, and I want you to wear that hat for the entirety of your time in Ignite. So now I'm going to allow some time for you to read over the 3 types of cappers in trainings, okay? I want you to decide which type of capper you're going to be during Ignite. It should be, let's see, what page? 14. Just a couple of minutes to go over that. I'm all right in it. Okay, so even if you're not there yet, we're going to move on, just kind of go through them together. Okay, so the first type is the prisoner. Is anybody forced to be here today? Besides me calling you probably a few times to come. Hopefully you don't feel forced, but the prisoner is someone who feels like they have to be here, they don't want to be here, and they don't know why they're here. This type of person does not engage. They spend class time catching up on their emails, checking their phone, stepping out frequently. Holds on to limiting beliefs. A prisoner holds on to their limiting beliefs, regardless of what I asked them to do 5 minutes ago. Multitask on their computer by working on side projects. You guys remember that person? I'm sure you've been It's somewhere else where you've seen that manifest. Okay, the vacationer. A day in training is better than a day on the job. Anybody here put that down? And put that down. All right. So maybe you feel like by being here, you don't have to face the reality of actually going out and figuring out how you're going to start a career in real estate. Anybody? Hopefully not. Maybe you're here to have fun, and this class distracts you from other irrelevant things that are happening in your life right now. This type of person returns late from break and from lunch. Not purposeful in learning their own goals. Spends the day on their smartphone texting and checking Facebook and isn't paying attention. So please don't do that. Hopefully whenever you have an opportunity and it's turned over to you to make phone calls or to perform a certain task, that you take that seriously. And don't be tempted to get on your cell phone. You can even leave it at the front. I've actually done that with a few classes I've taught before. It's just have everybody put all their technology at the front. If there's something that urgent, you shouldn't be here, right? Okay. The explorer, excited and curious about the new knowledge, skills, and tools they will discover in this class. Who identified with this?
Yes.
Awesome. This person listens attentively, then participates fully in discussions and exercises. Asks meaningful questions and contributes compelling ahas. Does anybody know what an aha is? You heard that before, okay? So whenever you're going through, just as we've been already talking a lot about mindset and personal perspectives, things that are really important, writing down something that resonates with you. Maybe you don't bring it up in the beginning, but there's gonna be an opportunity to talk about your ahas. What was revealed to you? What really spoke to you? What is something you're gonna take with you, okay? This person arrives to class on time and returns promptly from breaks. They adopt a posture of acceptance. They take notes in their manual for future reference. Sandra, can you speak to that? Did you take notes the first time?
I did, yeah.
Awesome. Respects the different learning styles and opinions of others. That one's really important, okay? All right, so several things are going to make this course a huge victory for you. There are expectations for each power session, okay? There is homework, and there are missions that you need to complete. If you haven't done the first mission, you will need to go ahead and complete that as double for part of next time. This is power session 1. Power session 2, we're going to move on to next time, okay? So they should both be completed before you come. So there will be an action reveal for every mission that you come to, and really what that is accountability, speaking to the task that you've done, and really just speaking, maybe even if you didn't do them, and we need to figure out why you couldn't get to it. Maybe you hit a wall. That's really important. So ground rules, we really already went over those, but it is really important that you respect the ground rules that we did set. Make sure you bring your name card, make sure that you're on time, and that you have your homework. If you need to use the restroom during any time of night, just excuse yourself and come back. Okay. So, did anyone complete the mission for Ignite, the first mission? No. You did? You want to tell us a little bit about your mission?
Are you talking about this thing here?
Yes.
Just all the stuff that you set up in the beginning, your KW account and all that, go to the technology training report, takes you behind the scenes on the back end and helps you set up all your stuff so market leader
Yes.
working properly.
So I know you haven't joined us yet. So this may be a little foreign to you. So what I'm going to need you to do is before this class is over, buddy up with someone in Ignite. And there's someone in this room who hasn't done all of these either. I know that because I know some of you. So you can go through this with them, share their KW login, and sort of start to show you the process. Okay? Would anybody in here volunteer to show David work with David? Come on.
Come on, somebody jump up and down.
Ouch. This is a win-win. You can help, you a buddy. Okay, I will help you. And you guys are all in trouble. Okay. So make sure that you go through this and review it. It's really important that you do this every day. So since only one person has really gone through and checked this off, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the Make It Happen section, which I think Brad is prepared to present for us. Awesome. This is where I was.
Yep.
Feel free to use that or not use that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, good.
Hi. Doing good. So I want to apologize first off to everyone. We had a little miscommunication on when this class started today. I should have called to confirm my appointment, but I was told that I started at 2. So I'm prepared for you to go through the rest of the course, so I'll be with you through the end of the day. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And we'll have some interactive stuff too. I'm not going to just go through page by page and go through each individual item. The beauty about this program is twofold. One is you have agents teaching agents. I'm a real estate broker as well as an agent here in the office. I run a small team. Been doing this for 10 years. This is fully pro bono for me, so I come in here just to get up in front of you to help you as much as I can, right? The culture that we have here is all about sharing, right? If I tell you what to do, I hope you'll go out and use it. I hope you'll run out and do it. What I find is 9 out of 10 of you probably won't, right? But the goal here is to get through and get just jump started so that when we go through the program, you have firsthand experience. You have some accountability, and you can learn from my mistakes, because trust me, I've made a lot of them, all right, over the last 10 years. So if you have questions throughout, feel free to raise your hand. The best class for me is an interactive one. Me lecturing is not fun for me. I don't enjoy it. I want you to be engaged. I want you to ask and learn as quickly as you possibly can, okay? So my background is in residential real estate as well as property flipping. So I've flipped about 100 and some odd homes that now I don't know exactly how many. From 2009 to 2012, I flipped about 100. And now I translate those skills into my own clients. So if I have a client who has been living in their home for 25 years and, geez, they don't know what to do, that's where I step in. Okay, so I have a great affinity to help people remodel, improve, and then get top dollar for their homes. Most homes that we put on the market sell for the highest price in the neighborhood. And that's mainly because we're helping them to improve and pick and choose what improvements they do to net the most money. So if you want to learn more about that, I'm happy to share. So as we're going through this, the fundamental that I want to make sure that you all understand is what comes first. What do you need to learn first in this course?
Big why.
That's good. We're going to talk about our big why, and that's what's going to fuel all this. But one thing that I think is fundamentally backwards about real estate is I think most people try to learn and come to these classes as much as they can to learn to hurry up to get ready. Hurry up, get ready. Learn as much as I can so I can implement it 6 months from now.
We just talked about that for one day.
Excellent. And I think to this day, it's something that is a big challenge for people because they want to have their listing presentation ready. They want to learn how much internet marketing they're going to do. They want to have all these things that is going to help them in the future. Well, if you don't have any clients, how often are you going to use those things, right? So my goal is that you understand that finding clients is your #1 job. This is a sales position. You need to go out and find buyers. You need to find sellers. You need to find the quickest way to your next paycheck and then come from a place of contribution, okay? If you lose that fundamental, doesn't matter how much energy, money, time you spend on other things, you won't have a business. Is that fair enough? Is that scary for some of you? It's a little scary for me. I'm still doing this 10 years later, and it's something that I have to continue to train myself and block time and make sure that I'm continuing to use the scripts and talking to the right people so that I'm getting the most out of my own business. Okay? So I want to make sure that you're doing that and that you don't get overwhelmed. There's a couple things that can happen in real estate. #1 is You can get $39.99 to death. Okay, what does that mean? In real estate, everyone's going to try and sell you something. They're going to sell you a program, a CRM to keep all your database in. They're going to sell you the next thing you have to spend money on. Okay, the reality is you don't have to spend really all that money at all. Okay, the tools that are here and getting ingrained in what Mary can provide and everything else will certainly help you in the core basics of what you need to start selling and to be successful. Okay, back to the missions. These are fantastic as you go through them. So just as a supplement, as you go through each day, make sure you're getting these because these are the foundational models of what Keller Williams is all about. I'll tell you one of my big mistakes now so you understand. One of my biggest mistakes is when I started this, I didn't follow any models. I thought I could do it better than everyone else. I thought I was going to figure it out on my own. I had a background in real estate from my family, and I'm like, I'm just going to figure it out. And then I realized I was doing it all wrong over and over again. I was spending money in the wrong places. I wasn't focusing on my prospecting. So when I had to reinvent my business in about 2012, it all changed for me. And these models that are here are unbelievable. You know, you'll see them around the room. You'll be talking about them over the next couple of weeks with different agents. Every time I deviate from the model and what I set forth, I was talking to my coach about it this morning. Every time I deviate from the appointment that I go on, the way that I always do it, I always run into trouble, right? I think I have to take more care of a certain client because they're a higher price point. I think I have to do something differently. Every time I do it differently, I run into trouble. So stick to models, learn and understand what these things are, and you will have an incredible, incredible first, couple of months in the business. Okay. All right. So, page 19 in your book, we're going to skip over. We're going to do a couple of things in the expectations about your big why, your monetary goal, how you can be accountable, and then sales language like scripting and things like that, and why they're so important. A lot of people cringe when I say scripts. Anybody cringe? Ugh. Telemarketers. Ugh. Everything I say in every appointment is a script. I didn't know it so well as I go through a listing appointment. I have deviations and things that I can say to people. It's all a script. I can recall it quickly. Okay? Put my own spin on it based on who's in front of me. So don't cringe about scripts. They're going to feel awkward at first, but once you learn them and understand them, they're a huge tool for you. Okay? All right, so we're going to talk about your mission and your daily 10-4, and then we're going to focus on a couple different activities to help you through all of this. So if we go over to page 19. All right. I think this is the hardest question for anybody to answer in any industry. Okay? I don't know the answer to this. I'm going to be completely frank and honest with you. I don't know what my big why is. I work on it all the time. I think about it all the time. I work on it with my coach. I talk to my wife about it. There is not a wrong answer to this question. But the deeper that you dive into finding out why you're doing what you're doing, maybe why you made the transition to real estate, is going to be key to figuring out what fuels your success. Okay? Is anyone willing to share why they changed professions and they're here in this room today? Come on, don't be shy. Sandra, why did you change? You've been in this business for a year and a half?
Yeah, 2.5.
2.5? Why did you change?
Oh my gosh, I didn't have a career before.
It wasn't a career?
No, I don't think so. I ran it in-home daycare.
Okay.
So my ex-husband didn't want me to work. So now I'm doing something I'm really passionate about.
And why are you passionate about it?
Because I love helping people and it's no day's the same. I like that it's always different challenges and it's just how you solve them. Yeah, but my big why was also my family and providing as a single mom.
Okay, so single mom, providing for your family as a single mom.
So that was a big one. But I think last year having great success, even more than so than the year before, I felt like now I'm kind of struggling a bit with my why because I satisfied a bunch of the things that was my big, I bought a house last year. I bought, a sports car. I did a couple of fun things and I traveled a little bit and I'm like, oh, now I'm kind of doing the thing. So, I'm fine. If I'm here, I'm fine,
Isn't that interesting?
So it's quickly. And I thought, going into it, it was like, oh gosh, this is, just go, go, go. So yeah, a little. Yeah.
Interesting. 2.5 years in and your threshold changed, right?
Absolutely.
You have a different threshold. You checked a bunch of boxes off what your why was pushing you to do pretty quick. Rookie of the year, by the way, sitting in the front row. 2 years ago, yes?
Last year,
Last year,
2016.
2016.
Yes.
So, rookie of the year, threshold has changed, why is starting to change, and trying to figure out what it is again, right? Because now it's comfortable.
Well, it was, like probably you guys thinking, oh my gosh, making 100,000, oh my gosh, that's like a lot of money, and you just, but it changes. Once you hit that, and once you hit the double that, and it's like, okay. But then you look back, I mean, my tax return back in 2015 was $20,000. I mean, so I went from 20,000 to over 200,000 in, 2 years. So,
pretty amazing.
Little crazy. So,
to put it in perspective, today,
yeah.
in my business, a lot of people look at me as a success in the industry. Yeah. My threshold's changed.
Yeah.
I'm not satisfied. I'm still digging to figure out what's my why to push me to the next step. And sometimes I get a little stagnant. Like right now, I didn't work in December. I mean, I hardly did any business. I mean, I still close transactions.
You should tell me you have 3 little ones too, and if you have a wife, and so you have.
But I have a strong drive and motivation to be able to take the 10 weeks to 12 weeks off a year that I want to. Okay, to be able to operate in such a way. My why has changed from monetary to time.
Yeah.
So my shift has gone from I need to make X amount of money to how can I make more money and spend less time? Okay, so that I can spend it where I want it, traveling the world with my family, taking weeks off at home, whatever. I mean, December was crazy. I had surgery. My daughter broke her femur, 2-year-old. I had a vacation in there somewhere. So it was a very interesting month, but you know what? I was able to do it, and I closed over $80,000 in GCI in the last 2 weeks of December. Okay, so that's a new why for me, time. Okay, so what is it that brought you across to real estate, and what did you do before? Were you successful in what you did before?
Yeah, I would like to hear from some of the people I had because,
So I was in business development for a financial firm for 10 or 12 years before this. And I really loved it when I first started. And I feel like over the years, the industry has changed so dramatically that it was just killing my soul, recruiting these financial advisors and just watching them go from firm to firm to firm, pitching the same products to the same clients, and in no way generating value for their clients that they were receiving in fees and commissions.
Interesting.
And I'll go off on the
So,
services industry if anyone wants to.
So it bothered you that they were not contributing?
Yep. Your clients pay the commissions, everything's built into the funds or the fees that they charge, and for the most part, people are paying 10 times more than they have to for the same funds and service.
Okay, so how will you change that in your new career?
So I'm really hoping, well, for one, since I'm going to own my own business, I'm going to have full control over how I run it and the values that I bring to the table. And I really feel like owning a home is such a personal and individual experience, whereas anyone can go out and buy a Vanguard fund for 6 basis points. So you don't need to pay 1.5% for it. So I'm really looking forward to planting my own flag and trying to do some good in the world.
Great. There's a core there. You've got a mission for your own and for your own fire, right? There's going to be something that will change in you, and you're going to figure it out. You don't know it exactly today. You've got a lot more ironed out than a lot of people do starting in a new industry. But it sounds like you're passionate about making your stance.
And being plenty of money. I just didn't feel good about myself.
That's huge. That's huge. Anybody else? Mm-hmm.
I was running my husband's photogrammetric engineering business.
Okay.
And I never felt like I had personal satisfaction because it wasn't for me.
Okay.
I didn't have the training or the background to do, I felt, to be there to communicate with other people. And when we moved here, I bought a house from someone that I thought was totally incompetent. And my husband's
I didn't sell you a house, did I?
No.
Okay.
But my husband's family had been in the real estate business in Massachusetts for a long time, and I'd seen that work. And I felt that I could bring contribution to people in a different way than I received when I purchased the house.
Interesting.
And for me, real estate has been way more satisfying than anything else I've ever done.
How long have you been doing it now?
I've had my license since 1992.
Oh, wow. So it's been quite some time. Okay. And you know, you're not the only story of somebody going through a situation where they're new to an area, they make a move, and they have this interesting experience with an agent that didn't really live up to their expectations. And, you know, you'd probably do it differently for others. And you'd have a different experience and make sure that you relay that back into the customer experience for your own clients. That's fantastic. And you're still doing it.
I'm still doing it. I'm back to doing it.
Back to doing it. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Yeah, Erin?
I come from being a mum. I've got 3 kids that still, you know, are in a period of life where they still need me to a certain extent. But in the last couple of years, I've personally felt that I was really happy in that phase of my life where I was predominantly in the home, being in the role of mother and wife. That was all encompassing, basically, and also committed to assisting more on a, you know, need-by basis without pay for people to be there to kind of counsel them, I guess.
Okay.
So that's where I came from, and this was really just, I think, a level of self-awareness in myself, realising that what I was needing before and what was working was starting not to work for myself or for the kids and my husband. And so just adjusting what my expectations were, what their expectations were, and how that needed to be adjusted to bring some things back into perspective for what my needs were in this new sort of phase and what that would require of me. And then looking at my past skills and things I've enjoyed and liked, which have been various different industries I've been involved in, to going to something completely new, because I feel that real estate is an area where you're always dealing with people. And I think communication is something I've worked on a lot in my life, and I've got a long way to go in getting better at being able to communicate effectively with people, but bringing a sense of, you know, honesty and caring about people, and, you know, wanting to see other people thrive and, you know, give them, even assist them with some of their dreams and goals as well, is really what motivated me to think, okay, I think real estate would be something I could really look at and commit to, that would culminate in all my other skills to be a starting point for kind of launching into this.
So I hear challenge in there. All those little micro details that you pointed out, there's a challenge in it for you to utilize your skills to help others, but also translate what you've done in a role previous into something new. And I think it will be a challenge, right? You'll have to dig deep to figure out what will continue driving you through to be successful in the business. We see a lot of stay-at-home moms transition into real estate, and balance is a challenge. And what I call, Gary Keller calls counterbalance, because there is no true balance. It's always out of whack, and you're always trying to bring it back together. So figuring that out and figuring out the core of what drives you to do it, and succeeding in those challenges. Remember, always look to adjust your thermostat. Okay, so you're going to start small, keep growing, and figure out what that big why is along the way.
And allowing the chaos, a little bit of that chaos of what that really does bring to our family. The uncomfortableness of working through some of that.
It will
I've already had to start looking at that seriously, but I'm okay with that because I can see that that's needed.
It will absolutely be chaos. 100%. You will have chaos in your life.
We know what chaos looks like.
Yeah.
And it's part of life.
Very good. Anyone else?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a degree in psychology, and you know, the one thing that I was told is working with in my profession is I have to do it for the people, because I work with kids. I work with foster kids, kids with autism, kids with Asperger's, kids that, you know, were unfortunate. And the one thing that I was told in the profession is you have to do it for them. But now I have a wife, I have 2 boys, and that doesn't pay the bills. So the transition to real estate and being able to make money that, you know, is connected to my work ethic was the biggest thing that, you know, maybe go to the transition. Because my mom's been in the business for a long time, and I have seen what she has done for me. Like she was a single mom raising 3 boys, a daughter as well, and that's, you know, what I see, because I'm a provider. I'm the man of the house, and in doing that, I, you know, I couldn't do that with my psychology degree, because a bachelor's in psychology doesn't get you, you know, making an hourly wage or whatever. So
These days, a bachelor's in psychology might
I was
not get you
gonna
a
say,
job.
That's perfect, what you did.
it does get you a job, and you know, it's fantastic that it gets you a job, but when you're making as much as somebody that just goes to high school and can do a trade or even just, you know, go into being like an assistant at a dental office. I have a lot of friends that didn't go to college that make more than me, and I have a bachelor's, and, you know, that right there is, you know, what's a sign for me to, like, I need to make a career change.
Absolutely.
And I love working with people. I'm a people person. I can work with elderly. I can work with, you know, middle class. I can work with anyone. And in real estate, I see that a big beneficial to working with people, because when someone's looking for a house and they're happy with that house, that's, you know, a great sign.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of psychology.
So yeah, you've analyzed this well. And here's what I encourage you to do is look inward as to what, to your core again, to find out what the why is. Because you're talking on 2 different sides. One is you're a provider, you want to provide for your family, and that's important to you, and that will give you drive. But go deeper. Find out what are you proving to yourself, to others? What is the real reason why you're doing what you're doing? If you can determine what that is, and this is for all you in the room as well, if you can determine what that is, you can constantly play off of it to keep your drive and motivation going. You know, it's interesting as I find so many people, and I talk to people all the time that want to join my team, that I'm interviewing, that tell me, oh, I love going to open houses. Or, and it's not wrong if you say that, I like going to open houses too. Or, you know, my favorite is, real estate gives me flexibility. That's my favorite answer, okay? Sure, it gives you flexibility.
To work.
Flexibility to work really hard. It really, you know, the shift is, if you want to be super successful in this, you have to work harder than you would in your previous job, to be completely honest. When I started in this business, I was working seven days a week, 6.5 days a week. I was probably putting in about 70 hours every single week just to get off the ground, okay? And for a lot of people, that's scary, right? I had a family. At the time, I didn't have a family. I have a family now. Obviously, 70 hours a week isn't going to work very well for me. But that's where I started. That's how I got it off the ground. That's how I figured it out, right? Just putting in as much energy and effort as I possibly could. And again, it's constantly fine-tuning what that why is. So take a second right now, and on that page, just write down what you think today your why is. There's no wrong answer. You may have said it out loud, but get back to that core of what it is. Write a couple sentences, a word, whatever it needs to be, and we'll move on from there. All right, so I'm going to go through a couple of skills as we move on here. First one is you have to know what your big why is and your monetary goals. So we talked about this big why, and I spent some time on it because it is so important. It's ever evolving. But the next thing is in conjunction with your big why, how do you get your big why to move you? What do you do? Where do you spend your time? Right? We talked about that 80-20 principle before. Now, how do you get that big why in action, right, in this industry? And I talked about models before, all right? Modeling you as a brand new agent, as an experienced agent, as somebody who wants to grow up and run a team or a brokerage or an office or whatever it is, someone's done it better than you. I promise you that. That's one of the biggest mistakes that I've made throughout this, is early on, I didn't model after anyone else. I just said I could do this, and by the way, I made a decent living, but I was pulling my hair out, right? It was 70 hours a week, running after every buyer, seller, anything I could chase. I would run myself into the ground and in circles. So the second thing is we're going to give you some models to work off of, and that's going to come in Ignite, and it's also going to develop in more advanced training, looking at other agents within the office or even outside. I mean, even today, I look outside our own office to find models and systems of other agents who are doing it at an even higher level. And I'll share an experience I had with you. I'm coached by MAPS Coaching, which you'll learn about as you kind of go through and you're in the office and go to events. And my first coach was introduced to me, and the interesting part about it was she was introduced to me, and I did some calculations. I ran how many sales she did each year and what price point, what her average price point was in suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, and I went, I make a lot more money than you do. And I was and I said, but you know what? I'm gonna allow myself to be coached. I'm gonna open myself up and allow myself to be coached because, I can't be closed-minded about this, right? And then, it's something that's interesting. So my average price point here is about $725, right? Her average price point is $225, right? Substantially different in price point. She was closing over 100 transactions a year. I was doing like 40, okay? I'm still making substantially more money than she was in her real estate practice. But when I opened my mind to the coaching, here's what I learned. I learned I can cover up a lot of mistakes by making a little bit more money, right? Buy this, buy that, smooth over things, have lulls in my business, and not be as efficient. She didn't have an option. She had overhead, she had salary, she had to be closing X number, at least 25 a quarter, or 100 a year, or else this wasn't a business anymore. This was a failure, right? So it was really interesting to find out the nuances that she taught me and how open it was. And that was a model that I couldn't learn from a book, right? It was someone talking me through it and showing me how they had done it and how they got to where they were. And it helped me make some really difficult decisions in my business to understand that, okay, so I want to get to 100 transactions. What am I going to do to shift and change those things, right? And that's still a work in progress for me, but I've learned from someone else's mistakes, okay? So remember, follow these models. Some of them might seem silly at first, but trust me, they work. I told you about deviation. When I deviate from my own systems, I always run into problems. Set up your time, your models, and follow those. And then the third thing is time on task over time, okay? We talked about prospecting. We talked about these, what do they call them? These missions, right? These are set up so that you can over each homework session or whatever, you can develop skills and internalize information and set up things that you need to in your business so that it moves quickly. Once you get behind a week, it's going to be challenging to get caught up. So make sure you're doing those on a regular basis. It's little increments, prospecting every single day. We'll talk about that. And making sure that you're finding business all the time and improving whatever your models and systems are. And those three factors together equal success. All right, so we talked about big why. And I'd like to talk a little bit about a financial thermostat. And in that, we talk about Sandra and how your thermostats change, how your whys change, what financial thermostat, how that gets adjusted. Same with me. I mean, my financial thermostat keeps changing, and actually the dynamics of it keep changing. So as a brand new agent in this room, you've never sold a piece of real estate ever, right? Your financial thermostat might be different, and that's okay, right? What I encourage you to do is push as hard as you can upwards on what your financial thermostat is. Be uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable with your goal, okay? So as we set goals for what you're going to do in 2018, make sure they're just out of reach almost, or you perceive that they're just out of reach, okay? So focusing on a big future and making sure that this business is helping you to run the life you really want to live. Don't step in here and think that, I'm gonna be a slave to this business. You might feel that way at times, but the goal here is to help you lead a bigger life, right? Lead something that you've always wanted to do, all your hopes and dreams, buying the sports car, buying the house, whatever it is that you focus on, check those things off your list. That's why you're here, okay? Do you guys talk quite a bit about the 80-20 principle?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll reference that as we go through, but it's so true. 20%, the 20% of what you do brings out 80% of all the profit. And if you focus on the 80%, you won't grow. You really won't. All right, so
the 80-20, is that just finding what you're good at, or are you doing that more?
Well, focus on money-making activities. So not only what you're good at, and as we talk about models, there's lots of different ways to sell real estate. Is that agreed? Okay. What have you heard and what the best ways to sell real estate? What are some avenues of what you can do?
Be in the lead generation business.
Be in a lead generation business, but what does that mean?
Cold calling, networking.
Cold calling, networking, what else?
Door knocking.
Door knocking, what else?
Sphere of interest.
Sphere of influence, what else?
Social media marketing. Referrals.
Open houses, online, social media, referrals, right? How many different models do you think you'll see in this office? All of them, right? Every single one. So when we're talking about strengths and weaknesses, quickly determine what your strengths and weaknesses are and play to your strengths.
In all of those models.
In whichever model you choose. And one thing I learned.
Doing all that, you're going to find the 20% within that realm.
Correct.
And then focus on that.
And focus on that. What that 20% typically takes action and productivity, right? Don't mistake action for productivity. If you determine that you're great at cold calling, cold call until you're blue in the face. It will work, okay? But don't determine that you're great at cold calling and then not call, right? Get distracted by open houses and other things where if cold calling is your core and that's what you're going to do over the next 90 days to be successful, get really good at it. Practice scripts. Call for 4 to 6 hours a day until you find leads, okay? And you might determine that's not. I'll tell you what, I can't stand cold calling. I think it's the worst thing ever. But you know what? Have you done it in the past?
Yeah.
Were you good at it?
I was very good at it.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it. Do it. If you're good at it, do it.
It's over for me.
It's over for you. So
Really?
So what are you going to determine? So why is it over for you?
Yeah.
Because I'm sick of it.
Why?
I've done it well. I just don't want to do it anymore.
Why?
Because I'm very good at other things.
No, there's something in cold calling that you don't want to do it anymore. What is it?
Talk to people.
You're in the wrong business then.
Wow, you
I
don't
have
like
a
people.
deep-seated hate for them.
Okay. That, it's not the first time I've heard it. One of the top producers in this office will tell you he's going to be in this Ignite program, I believe. Tells everyone that he doesn't like people. Okay.
I like the psychology of people. It's better to do it in person.
So you like face-to-face.
And I like advertising media.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
So here's
kind of focus that way.
I'm going to challenge you a little bit, Eric, here, and here's what I'm going to tell you. You don't have to like people to talk to them. You don't have to like people to
I
talk
know
to them.
it. I'll show you some cold calling. If you really want to see it, I'll show you how to do it.
I'm not going to tell you today that you have to cold call, right? But here's what I'm going to have. I'm going to tell you. You're going to have to engage with people in this business, and you're going to have to talk to them.
It's better in person.
And you're going to have to figure out what the medium is for you to do that. So you know what? You may have terrible past experiences and deep-rooted, sincere hate for cold calling.
I'm a big guy. People don't hang up on me in person.
Let me finish my statement. So you might have to determine that in person is a better source for you. But here's your issue. In-person meetings and face-to-face conversations take more time. So how are you going to get to the number of contacts that you need in a timely manner? How are you going to do it?
Direct mail.
True. That's not face-to-face or talking to people.
I pick up the phone though. Inbound is always better for me.
Okay.
So I also have people that pick up the phone screening for me.
Okay.
Got it down.
How big is your bank account right now?
Good enough.
Okay.
Last for my life.
Okay. So, and if that's the case, you can spend money to have your phone ring. But I'll tell you, you have to do it for the long term. It's a long haul. It's a farming play. And you're competing against top producers across the county that do the same thing. Okay. I'm going to step away from our conversation about people. I tend to like people a little more than you do. I don't love them all the time, but I tend to like them more. I don't spend hardly any money on mail. Okay. I supplement with prospecting and cold calling because I know it works. And if you're good at it, it works. And if you come from a place of contribution, it will continually work for you. It could be face-to-face, and here's what I would encourage you. Direct mail needs to be supplemented by face-to-face door knocking. That will be your highest return. And if you're willing to look somebody in the eye and shake their hand, and you want the face-to-face because they won't hang up on you, that's the way to do it. Okay, but you're going to have to make contacts. This is a contact sport. You can't just throw out mail and hope you're going to sell a whole bunch of real estate, in my opinion. It does work, direct mail, but it's 1% typically, give or take. And just be very, very cautious that it's a long-term burn, that you're going to spend a lot of money on direct mail before your phone starts actually ringing. Okay? That's fine. That's fine. So my business is all based on networking, person-to-person contact, and having business relationships to refer me. Okay, so past client, I have a high past client retention rate. I'm in a networking group called BNI, if you've ever heard of that before. I'm the president. We're growing our chapter dramatically. It's really hard to get a seat in BNI unless you start your own chapter. But it's a really great way to be in front of other like-minded business professionals that will refer you all the time. Okay? So my model isn't mail. It's not really cold calling. I supplement with cold calling around my listings and buyers. But ultimately, it has to do with face-to-face and talking to people on the phone. And then now it's maintenance of those people, growing my database, throwing events, getting in front of them in ways that really, really attract them to me and remind them that they should be referring. Okay?
What's your opinion on internet marketing? I know it's different than it was 10 years ago. Did you do any stuff?
I've done all sorts of internet marketing. I've run teams of agents with online leads. They work. They're exhausting. Your percentage return on that as well. It's something you got to look at. As a new agent, I'd be really cautious. We talked about $39.99 to death. Well, Zillow, Trulia, these are big players in our market that will sell you ad space. They are happy to. Anyone have an opinion on Zillow ads and how much return they give you?
Exclusive?
Nope. No. Some of your top players in the office in the county are going to spend money on Zillow. Also, people who are scrounging to stay alive. Okay. Internet leads are interesting. If you're good at it, you convert them. You're in front of them. You can do very well. I did it for a long time. Not my thing. I was tired. I didn't want to call people who didn't want to talk to me anymore. Because even more so these days, an internet lead is even more challenging than a cold call a lot of times. It's a lead.
How did you start?
How did I start?
Yeah.
Internet lead generation. So when I first started and I transitioned out of recruiting real estate agents and went into managing a platform for broker metrics, market leader, which is really no longer around and starting to diminish. Market leader was kind of the leader in online lead generation platforms at the time. So I was spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month generating internet leads and then managing a team of 8 agents that were responding to those leads, as well as having my own platform for me to run around and work on those. I got really bored of it really fast. Talking to a lot of people that didn't want to talk to me. So I reinvented. I went a different direction with it, and again, recognized what my strengths were. And talking to people and networking and gaining trust with people quickly. So, all right. So that's, if it's okay, and we talked about a couple models, we'll move on to a monetary goal. Is that all right? All right. So there's a box here on page 23, it looks like, for you to put in your monetary goal. You're going to hear a lot about something called the CGI calculator. Okay. I'm not going to go through and doing that online with you today, but this is a start for you. And you'll be going through this with someone here in the office. There's regular CGI calls in this room, which is our national headquarters talking about setting goals and how to maintain and set the expectation of those goals. So in that box, now that you know your big why, what will it take to fund the life and your big why? What's the number in your pocket this year that you want to hit? There's no wrong answer.
130,000.
130,000. All right. Hello. Anyone higher? Hello.
23?
Huh?
Page 23. He's asking.
23. Yeah.
This is after taxes and everything, take home?
So CGI is based on gross commissions earned. So what you will make.
Because it says include taxes and expenses. So we're doing a gross commission income, or we're doing that?
Remember to include taxes and expenses. So the number that is written in the box is gross commission income.
So we need to make more then.
But keep in mind, you have to pay taxes and you have to write off expenses, etc. So if you think $100,000 is going to feed your perfect life this year, maybe it's 130 or 140. So make sure you adjust upwards because you still have to pay taxes out of that income. Coach maybe write this down this week.
I did it a couple months ago. You didn't do your 2018?
Oh no. But she's calling me out on it and continuing to push me. So I'll share my goal. My goal is 1.65 million.
Nice.
Okay. So in 2018, to fund my perfect life, it's 1.65 million. Okay, it's a stretch for me. It's not comfortable. It scares me, but it certainly, it will push me. And seeing that, now I've chunked it down to, okay, what do I need to do this month? How many meetings do I need to go on in the next 6 weeks? Okay, what about this week? It's really, we've broken it down into little tiny steps of what that means. Okay?
How many transactions does it translate to? Transaction count?
Transaction count is 100. Yep. 60% buyer, 60% sellers, 40% buyers. 60-40. Means I have to go on 92 appointments on the list side. Means I have to go on 76. No, yeah, 76 on the buy side. Okay. All right, so who knows what you'll earn in real estate? Sell a house. I love the example.
Yeah, I was going to say it too.
$200,000.
Triple it.
You can find me a $200,000 house. I'd be really excited. I'd probably buy it.
We need to triple it and take down the commission to like 2.5 or 2.
Okay, so there's two pieces to this. Number one is right next to that where it says $200,000. What's your average price point in San Diego right now?
750?
640. Yeah.
Okay, so they go off median. It's around 640 right now. I think it's a moving target.
Yeah.
Nobody can actually pinpoint it right now because of how quickly it's moving. Okay, let's use 600 for a round number. Okay. Now, Sandra, I can appreciate the comment on what the average commission rate is, and I'm going to challenge you on that. The average commission rate, what do you think it is nationwide?
Oh, I think it's higher.
2.6.
Because other states have, even 7 and 8% or 10, depending on where you're at.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
So average, yeah, then.
Average is somewhere around 3% overall. Okay. San Diego typically has more competition. In any county that has more competition, you should expect a little bit lower commission rate. The average commission rate is less than 3% for San Diego County. Does that mean that people are not taking 6% listings in San Diego?
set some up.
Absolutely not. Okay.
I'll take 6.
95% of the listings that I take are at 6%. Okay. 95% of the listings I take, I get a 3.5% commission on the list side. Okay, so I challenge you to say, if we're looking at averages, sure, we can look at a number below 3%. Do not be fooled that you have to discount your commission in this industry or in this business in order to get listings or be successful. Okay, so we'll just use 3% because the numbers are easy right now. If you'd like to round down to 2.5%, if you look at that, that's fine as well. So we have a $600,000 average sales price at 3%. What's the net commission, net GCI for each sale that you do? $18,000, right, at 3%. Okay. On the next page, we can actually write those in. I was going to do it side by side. So average sales price $600,000, 3% commission. Average commission is $18,000. Not a bad payday, huh?
Can I ask a question regarding the, on the listing side, you're saying the average would be for you 3.5%. How does that get worked out?
It's an agreement between you and the seller. So when you go on an appointment with the seller, you have a listing agreement and a conversation about your value.
Yeah.
And signing that agreement to list their home. One of the things that's negotiable, one is the price of the home.
Right.
Second is the timeline in which you will list the property.
Right.
And the third one is the commission rate.
Right. So the net commission rate, like if you're agreeing on 6%, then you sharing that with the buyer agent.
Yep.
They would be expecting 2.5%.
So that's the thing, you negotiate for both sides as a listing agent, and then you decide how much you want to give. Obviously, I mean.
So the listing agreement is between you and the seller. You are determining what your commission rate is.
Yep.
If you represent the seller. You're also determining what the cooperative commission rate is at that time. On the first page, there's also a second blank for how much you'll be cooperating with the outside agent.
So the seller's agreeing to that as well?
Correct.
But it's included in the 6%. It's not an additional because a lot of
No.
questions. Yeah, but you're going to get people in my ask.
I know that's a silly question,
Yeah.
but just
I'm
to
just saying.
understand how that actually plays out.
Yeah. So you negotiate it up front. Now, some people don't agree with my method, and they say it has to be split exactly 50-50.
I had agents got upset with me too when I said that I take 6%, and I feel like it's fair because the work I put in, I'm going to keep 3.5.
The agreement is not between you and the buyer.
Yeah.
You and the buyer's agent.
Yeah.
It is between you and the seller. So if you have a value proposition, everything is negotiable on what your commission is. Okay?
Yeah, I understand that.
So
I just know when we had our conversations in the office here without agents, they're like, oh.
I've had a buyer's agent walk out of a lunch on me. He was so mad at me that he didn't get his equal share in the commission.
That would be unusual though, I'd imagine, right? Or
no, back in the day, or I must say past history, it's been more like 3-3, right? It was kind of, when it was 6 all the time, no? I think that was.
how about on the other side when you're representing the buyer and you're getting someone to do the same thing to you? How do you feel about that?
But you don't know. I mean, you just take whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So here's my agreement. I take buyer broker agreements. So if I have a buyer, they sign a contract and it says that if the seller doesn't pay me anything, they will pay me 2.5%. Okay. I never ever make my buyer pay anything. So I don't even care if they gave me 2%. Yeah, it's a bummer, right? If I have to sell a house that has a 2% commission, I'm not thrilled that they discounted their commission, but am I going to charge the buyer for the difference? Never.
And sometimes it could be the one with the lowest, it could be the easiest deal, and the ones they had more, I mean, who knows?
Well, here's how I
different.
look at it. If you have an under market commission rate in the MLS, it probably means you're pretty inexperienced or may not have a high fiduciary to your client, and I'm probably going to get a better deal for my client overall. That's the way that I look at it. At the end of the day, if I get paid a little bit less, but my client's happy, I'm not going to change anything. Janet?
How do you present your 6% to your actual, what do you say? What's your?
So that is an entirely different class. But what I'll tell you that the key that I have done, that I've learned works really well, is it's already typed into the contract before I show up. Contract is always in my folder. The exact terms of what I want in the agreement, except for the price and the term of the agreement, are already written in.
so they know right up front. They might want to challenge that still, but
Sure.
you've already set that expectation.
That's what scripts are
I
for.
was gonna say, you have a good script for that.
There's all sorts of scripts that you can use to overcome that objection. And it's all about reading others and determining where to give, where not to give, where to be firm, where to walk away. So yeah, and you'll get that. You'll get scripts and training on how to go into listing appointments. Same thing with buyer broker agreements. We'll get to that. Well, let's see. Let's finish out this commission exercise and we'll take a quick break. All right, so do you know your fees for the market center?
Yes.
Yes. As new agents, you have a certain arrangement. You have a royalty. Every agent has a royalty that is licensed with Keller Williams. It's capped. The great news is, I don't know any other company out there that is capping royalty fees, $3,000 and that's it. I pay it typically in the first 15 days of my renewal and then it's gone, right? Super easy. The total cap for the market center is how much?
26.
Good. I don't know, so thank you.
It's
26,000.
26 plus the 3,
Or
right?
26 plus the royalty, 3,000.
Correct.
26
So it's $26,000 total for the cap. You typically pay at a 30% fee until that's capped out. Okay? So for our market center, you've got that in there. So the total number is going to be $29,000 for the market center. And you're going to use that a little bit later in calculations. All right, let's take a quick break. Time is 2:32. Let's be back here at 2:45. Okay, 15 minutes, 12 minutes, 13 minutes. Can we do the math for me? Huh?
I have to leave a little early.
Okay.
Can you tell me how far we're going to be?
Oh, okay, cool. Super. That's good. Well, you had a good year. It wasn't too shabby. I mean, considering.
Well, that's
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I was like, somebody asked me yesterday.
yesterday.
Somebody asked me, she's like, is Holly not working? I'm like, I don't know. Go ask her. I was like, go ask her.
All right, and you?
Long time no see.
Yeah, that was like, what, 2 weeks ago? I'm missing Jeff
No, I was surprised you were here.
because he was quite enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
Huh?
I've been here a lot.
Yeah.
about what? Warmer?
Start actually working on it.
Yeah. We can probably use it. I like it cold here though.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just.
You'll be sleeping back there.
No.
I don't know, apparently they got the broken
I
one.
can't say, it's embarrassing.
It's okay.
I'm
It's
a middle-aged
free.
guy who got his kid a
I mean, the same, but think that what did you do? I mean, you just.
I
Got your
bought my
degree.
kid a skateboard for Christmas.
Oh.
I'm awake. And I tried to.
You were like trying
But it's
to.
been like 25 years since I was on the skateboard.
Yeah, I know.
I fell back and I just jammed it on my leg.
Oh, shit.
Then I got in a little scuffle with some people, but we didn't know what was going on.
Oh, man.
Yes, it's a long recovery.
So what did you do? You
Very good.
You went to the
I
hospital.
tore my tendon up here.
You go back?
In 2 places, so I got
Good man.
It actually receded.
And you have a transition plan to get out of that?
So it's all the way through, 10 millimeters in, receded to 10 millimeter on one. Then I've got another all the way through, 3 millimeters on the other side. So she's not really done. She failed the test of times.
And it was just a simple.
Getting old hurts.
That's, no, I know. But it was just a simple thing that you didn't realize that, oh, you know, I used to play that.
I forgot that I was standing on a skateboard. And then I went like, whoop, there's a elevator's office there. Right in front of my boy saw me fall.
Were you trying to do that zigzagging? There?
I was just standing there like this talking.
Oh, just like
And
that?
I was on the skateboard and I forgot that I was on the skateboard.
Oh.
And I went to move, she stopped.
Oh, so you moved your back foot.
I moved and the
And then you
skateboard
just-
went flying that way, I went flying this way.
My wife worked with me for few years
Just
until
okay.
we had 3 little ones at home. It's like,
But it's gonna put me back a few months.
she stepped out a little bit.
Well,
I rescheduled the surgery though for
I'd love to have her back and she'll probably come back at some point.
you told me to tell you.
Well, you seem right. I mean,
Just
when
don't
it-
mind
It
me.
is, it is.
I mean, you can move and you know.
Yeah, I can't reason about it.
Oh, I see.
You're welcome. I'm just
Took a
letting
little
you know.
while.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know it was broken too.
Yeah.
You didn't know.
Oh. Oh, it's supposed to be working, right?
It's not.
It's not even on.
There's free coffee and,
Oh. On the other side. That's it. Thanks.
it's nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. Take care.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed a few things. I was talking to Jonathan about some stuff.
No, you're fine. Yeah. And if you didn't tell me, I probably wouldn't have even noticed, so.
Good.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good.
Good, good.
How's it going?
Good. You?
Living the dream.
Living the dream. Are you licensed yet?
No, I'm wrapping up the third class.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll take the test in February.
Cool.
However long it takes between the time I finish my class and schedule the test date. So,
It's challenging. Not bad, but it's challenging to get through.
yeah, that's what I figured. I don't take tests as well as I did 20 years ago, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, and here's what I'll tell you. To be honest with you, the exam for passing the state license, 90% of it you're never going to use again.
Yeah,
So
I know.
just-
That's reading the material.
Cram all the information into your head, pass the test, make sure you pass it and be done with it. But don't stress about it.
How much is studying the material versus the exam prep course? Yeah. Same thing.
I don't know how much the dynamics changed, but when I took it, I mean, literally line by line, the same questions were on the exam. You've taken it more recently than I have.
Took it in July.
Oh, just in July? So was the exam prep like almost a mirror of what the exam was?
Like the training course you need?
Did you like the crash course here with Keller Williams?
No.
You just read the material
I
and
just read the material. I took the practice questions in July.
practice questions?
Yeah. The test bank were like 1,600 questions.
Yep.
I took it over and over and over until I answered everyone correctly at least twice. And I thought it was pretty easy.
So were a lot of those questions right on the exam?
Not necessarily like word for word.
Yeah. Concept.
Similar enough. 50-60% were all similar enough, and the other ones.
You have the same experience?
Yeah. You need to eliminate two or more, but if you did yes, you should get it.
Yeah. You can eliminate to get down to at least two answers or one answer.
You make an educated guess on 50%.
That was my senior
Well,
year.
that's
That's
just
a
it.
good
When I decided to do this,
11 years ago, 10 years ago.
So that's just like the rest of life, a series of educated guesses.
Sure. Yeah. Something like that.
Do you have a mail merge system?
A mail merge system. It's super high tech and super complicated, and her name is Donna.
Okay.
Why do you ask?
Because I used to use Top Producer and now I'm looking for a new one.
So Top Producer is a CRM. And what are you trying to accomplish?
For mail to send letters out from
Okay.
the database.
Okay.
Merge those contacts.
Categorized into different database segments.
If I choose absentee buyers, or
Okay.
absentee sellers, or whatever, then I can pull those out and merge those into a letter.
So if that's so CRM is a whole different conversation because they're all different. They all have strengths and weaknesses, etc. For that, I use what's called follow-up boss. Now, mail merge and everything else, all I need to do is get it into an Excel spreadsheet, whatever it is. So that can be done out of, can be done from the title company. It can be done from Realist. So if you knew you want to do absentee owners, you could just go into Sandicor, go to the tax records and say, I want all the absentees in 92128, populate a list and mail to them. You just need to get it into an Excel format. Once it's in Excel, you can merge it into whatever you want. Right in Excel.
In Excel.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So through Excel and Word, you can merge the title of the person, the address, print envelopes, all that stuff. If you're not comfortable with that, talk to a title rep. Do you have a good title rep that you know?
I'm starting to find out.
Oh, okay. Who are you working with?
I'm working with Ryan I'm the first American.
Oh, with, okay. Ryan Steve, yeah. Is it Ryan? Oh, okay. Well, I'm calling it Ryan for a while. They can help you, no problem. Just tell them what you want. They can get your list, whatever you need.
And so you said your CRM is
Follow-up boss.
Follow-up.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I'm not recommending it to anyone. The best CRM is the one you use. So you can get super technical. I've been in systems that are way too technical. And then, so this one's working for me. It seems to be doing the trick. And then I merge it with my Google contacts, so it's always in my phone. Mm-hmm.
And it's doing my email blast for me, getting response. Oh, thank you for your reminder. Or, you know, that they're reading my email. Like, okay, somebody's reading it. Oh, you haven't set up any? Yeah, try it. Try it. It's absolutely, like I said, I've been getting email back from, you know, oh, thank you for the reminder about that, because I did the one with the Christmas stuff. And I'm like, oh, thank you about the lights. I will remember that. You know, like how to watch out about your Christmas lights and all that. It's already there. I just said it. And I just read it, and I'm like, oh, okay. So you get email with somebody. So I haven't really, you know, skip the steps. You know, there's
These models, right? So let me tell you, that's the way it works.
No, I know they more that reconnect. So now it just
You're rocking and rolling. Okay, so we're going to do a quick exercise just to give you reference on how many transactions you might need to close and break it down, like I talked about earlier, and chunking it down to what's important on a regular basis, right? And that's going to translate into your prospecting. So we'll start with monetary, and then we'll work backwards to prospecting. And this is something your highest level producers do all the way down to your first month in the business, or you don't even have your license yet for some of you. But it will give you a thermometer of, okay, so how many do I need to get through everything? Okay, so who wants to pick a GCI net goal? It doesn't have to be yours. Give me something over 100,000.
500K.
500K. All right, I like it. Thank you, Holly. Okay, how much is the cap with the royalty? 29,000. Who's got a calculator? Because I don't do this stuff in my head. Okay. 471. Okay. What's the average commission for a transaction in Southern California?
Yes, let's add those.
I'm sorry. Somebody said 471.
Oh, sorry.
That's it. Okay. 529. Thank you. Thank you. $529. Average commission per transaction. Not 6,000. 18. Right? Who's got a calculator?
15,870.
Is it being added?
Transaction. No, you divide.
Oh, no.
548.
So 529,000 divided by 18,000. 30? Okay. And you can do 30 transactions in a year?
Yeah.
Pretty reasonable, right? Southern California is a great place to do real estate. Okay? So for those of you that are thinking $100,000, nothing wrong with that. How many is that going to take?
5.
Who's got the number for me? Somebody's got to be quicker than I can write. 6. Less than 10.
6. Be 6.
About 6?
5th of 30.
6.
6.
It's 1/5 of that 500,000.
Okay. Can you sell 6
Yes.
to 7? Rounding up? It's not even one a month, right?
Wow.
Seems pretty simple.
Yeah.
We sell 6 houses, 7 houses. Now, how many houses does the average agent sell in San Diego? I don't even think it's 4. I think it's somewhere between 2 and 3. I think the average for the board of realtors is somewhere around 2.5 per year. Why? A lot of
We're
part-timers.
not trying hard enough, I guess.
Lots of reasons.
They're probably busy, I would guess.
They don't work here at Keller Williams.
That's a great answer. I like it.
Not nothing.
See, I don't like that one.
No.
I'm going to challenge you on that. Because if you went out and find it, there's plenty of inventory. Yeah, there's very few homes on the market, but there's lots of inventory waiting to come on. So that's a perception. That's a limiting belief, to be completely honest. And that's a challenge for a lot of people in this
That's the
market.
perception I heard from real estate agents here.
Well, they're thinking the wrong way. Maybe we need to have a talk.
Okay.
It's challenging. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, the last listing I put on the market, there were 16 offers. It sold for $45,000 over the list price. There were 15 people who were really mad they didn't get a house, and 15 agents who didn't get it and didn't make a commission. Right? I also had another one that was on the buy side, and I did get it. Right? The challenge that you have to be aware of is that the market's always going to have some problem. Okay? Low inventory, low buyer demand, declining prices. Doesn't matter what market we're in, you have to look past what the challenge is and find out how to get ahead of it. Okay?
Mindset.
So what's the most valuable piece of business in real estate right now? Listings, listings, listings. Why is a listing more valuable than a buyer?
Easier. Well, less time.
That's absolutely true. Less time. What else?
Much more guaranteed.
More guarantee?
Repeat business.
Why is that?
Because if you price the listing right, it'll sell. Or if you have a buyer, you could be constantly out being on.
I like it with your clarifying question or your clarifying response. Yeah. What else?
You can have lots of benefits from a listing.
So
including
listings,
other leads coming in.
Listings are in high demand, right? They take less time. They create exposure for you, and they typically produce buyers.
Yeah.
So if you want a buyer, go find a listing. Kind of backwards thinking, right? Very true. I put a listing on the market. I'm going to be talking to at least 4 or 5 buyers who might want to work with me. Okay. It probably will produce another listing too, if you work it right. So we're always looking from the seller to find 1 buyer and 1 seller out of every listing we get, and that's just a referral from the seller. It also produces phone calls, sign calls. It produces more possibilities for other listings of buyers coming to buy that property. Give you an example, right up the street, Summit, Carmel Mountain Ranch, my neighbor 2 doors down. We listed the property, put it on the market. I actually didn't put it on the market, put a sign in the front yard. Buyer called me next day, said I was at my friend's house, I want to buy that house. I said, are you qualified? Yep. You need to sell a house? Nope. Are you going to sell a house? Yeah. We're going to sell. They said, we want it. We know we want it. How much do you want for it? $1.2 million. I said, okay, can we see it? Came in that weekend, wrote the offer, represented both parties, buyer and seller. It ended up selling for more than the list price. They had to bait the seller to not put it on the market because I had set their expectations so high that nothing had ever been on the market on our street. The buyer came up, paid the higher price, listed their property with me down the street in Sabre Springs. I mean, this is the kind of opportunities that show up. I mean, that's $110,000 in commissions just for that opportunity.
On time.
Right? So just 1 listing created all of those opportunities, 3 sides, and then the listing in Sabre Springs also created additional opportunities of things that will come up for me very soon. That's why that's the power of the listing. Okay? So we want to make $100,000 net, 6 transactions. How many is that a month? 25, right? 30. How many is that a month? 2.5. Just around, right? 2.5 per month. Is that decent living?
Pretty good.
Not bad.
Good stuff.
Right? Where's your thermometer? Are you going to do 6, 1 every other month?
No.
How quickly can you get to 6? Sandra, who was just sitting in here, closed $200,000 in her first 12 months in business. Pretty good. As a brand new agent, that's fast. She figured it out quick. She had something to prove. Okay? All right, so do it for yourself. So if you haven't run the numbers on your own while we were talking, make sure that you get the numbers done. Get your thermostat and make sure you divide it by 12 at the end so you know exactly what it means to you on a monthly basis. All right, so how do we get those sales? What's the commitment and what's the skill that we need to learn to get those sales?
You need to know your scripts.
Scripts is one, so that's training. What else? Lead gen, lead gen, lead gen. You're going to hear this over and over and over again. Some of it might make you really mad. Lead generation is the lifeblood of your business. And to be honest with you, I don't really care how you do it. I don't care if it's face-to-face. I don't care if it's cold call. And I won't throw Mr. Eric under the bus here. Mailing is not lead gen. It's just not. It's not considered lead gen. It's marketing. And marketing works. What I'll tell you is marketing over and over and over again. I'll give you my example. I marketed 1,000 homes in Sabre Springs for a period of about 18 months. I was lucky enough to have a listing when I first started in that market. That's why I decided to start that farm. Okay, that sold for the highest price. I actually flipped the house myself. So I purchased the property, listed it, fixed it up the whole bit, resold it. Everybody was so excited that there's this new house that had sold for top dollar. It ended up in 4 other listings in that neighborhood, actually on the same street. But I don't think any of it came from the mail. The mail reinforced my presence in the neighborhood and what I had done, the open houses that I had done, the neighbors that I had knocked, and everything else that I did. So I don't knock mail. I think it is something that is really important to supplement in marketing, but it's not lead generation. I'd be one to challenge a call-in from a buyer off a postcard is not lead generation. That's lucky. And it happens, it works. Okay? Use it as a supplement. Use marketing as a supplement. Use Facebook marketing as a supplement. Real contacts are made is where you make sales.
Relationships.
It's all relationships, contacts. This is a contact sport.
Face to face.
That absolutely counts. As long as, what do you have to do?
Be in their face. Constantly.
Not in their face. What do you have to do?
Stay in touch.
I don't mind.
What do you have to ask? For business. You have to ask for business. A contact is not going to have a coffee to see an old friend and not asking for business. Nope. Not seeing somebody at school or church unless you ask for the business. Okay? Now, you might not want to be pushy. I don't like to be pushy. I don't want to feel like a salesperson, right? Although I am. The goal for me is contribution. So when I'm talking to someone, if I'm asking them for business and someone that I know, it's going to come from contribution first. So in scripts, what could you do on a regular basis with anyone that you know? Let's say this is somebody that you see once a week. How can you come from contribution when you're communicating with them?
Finding out about their life.
Find out about them, listen.
What's interesting to them?
What can you give them that isn't salesy?
Your time and attention.
Time and attention, what else?
A solution to something they've been talking about.
There you go. Okay, solution is something they've been talking about. So you listen. You find out, gosh, their windows are dirty. They can't stand it, and the guy fell off a ladder, and oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's kind of a silly example, but it works, right? That happens, boom. You know what? I have a great window washer. Be okay if I send them your way? Simple as that. My goal in every conversation with someone that I already know is to be a resource to them. Doesn't matter what it is, CPA, roof. They've got a flood and they need restoration services. They've got this issue, a tax problem, and they need an attorney. I'm going to figure out someone for them, whether I know them today or not. I will find them, vet them, and refer them to them right away. What does that do?
Build a relationship.
Builds a relationship.
Rapport and trust.
Yeah, trust. What else?
Makes you a valuable resource.
Yeah.
What does the resource component create for me?
Referrals?
Referrals, whether in the industry or out of the industry. And who do they call when they want to sell? Me. They sure do. Now I have to remind them, and not you, me. I have to remind them on a regular basis. And it's our job to remind them that you're in the business, right? I'm going to promise you, every single person in this room right now, that you're going to have this experience. You're not going to like it. Okay? Here's the experience. You find out that a good friend of yours listed their house and sold it without calling. It will happen. I promise you. And you will be devastated. How do you react to that?
Happy.
Happy?
For them.
I love that.
Be proud.
Tell me more.
Just remind
Well,
them.
you don't want to show them that you're disappointed. I mean, who knows that next time they'll say, "Oh, sorry, man. Yeah, I remember I'll call you next time."
Sure. Do you excommunicate them from your life?
No.
It was a decision, right? Whose fault was it that they didn't use you?
Yours.
It's yours, probably. You got to figure out why. Most of the time, it's because you just didn't call them.
Another factor there that's valid is that apparently when people are surveyed with their experience with their realtor, supposedly a high percentage of those people weren't happy with their experience.
you're close.
We can't presume that they had a good experience, even though they used someone else.
So here, you're close on that. 79% of people can't remember who their realtor was 2 years later. 79%. It's a much lower number for dissatisfaction with the agent population. It's like 14 or 19 or something. I haven't read the most recent survey, but that was the one that was done in 2014. It's much lower. So it's actually, they can't remember, because you know what happens? They don't follow up.
Business was done.
Yep. How often does the average homeowner buy and sell? 7 years. So you have to stay in touch with somebody for 7 years and find something creative to talk to them about for 7 years if you don't know them well, right? What do you talk to them about?
Anything that's interesting to them.
And some of that's marketing, some of that's setting stuff off. Phone calls are great. I mean, call your clients on their birthday. Sports. Sports? Explain. Talk to them about sports. That's not real estate. How do you keep in touch with them otherwise?
Recent sales in their area, maybe?
Recent sales, that'd be good. Yeah, that's a little salesy, but it's something that a lot of people do. I don't talk to them really at all about I go back to the resource piece, right? So when I'm calling them, like even this month, my call to my sphere of influence. So I just had a big holiday party at the country club. I invited everybody that I knew. It was all on me, right? Which you're not going to do in your first year necessarily, but it was a big event. I spent a lot of money. I called them, I emailed them, I sent videos to them. We sent handwritten invitations to everybody. I followed up, I sent a thank you note, I called them again, and I said, in 2018, I want to be your resource. So guess what? I just wined them, dined them, turned them around and said, what else can I do for you? How does that look? I had 2 listing appointments the first week in January from that process. Huh? And more, all day long, right? It was scary. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to spend all this money on this party, and I've never done it before, and I hope everybody shows up, and I was so stressed about it. And you know what? Half the battle was just sending out the invitations. I just sent the invitations, then they got invited, right? And then the people, I still had 100 people show up. Pretty good, right? And 100 people show up, have fun. We closed they had to turn the lights on us because we were having fun dancing and partying until 11 o'clock. But you know, just the experience and tailoring to your clients, making sure that they know that you're a resource. And I'm a big connector. Like if I knew, Chris, that you're in insurance and I knew that you needed insurance, I'm going to connect you, and then I'm going to figure out how to reinforce that connection between the two of you in any way possible. So I'd follow up on that referral. I'd call to make sure you guys got connected. I'd follow up and make sure you did a good job, Chris. Kept you accountable to Aaron on whatever you said you were going to do. And it just keeps me in front of them whenever I can, okay? By the way, all these calls that I'm making to make these connections for follow-up, calling my sphere, inviting them to parties, are they contacts? Absolutely. Right? Are they pushy? Are they salesy?
No.
I don't like salesy calls. Discuss the question on page 20. Okay. All right, so the journey to the monetary goal, we're going to get back on track a little bit here. I've got another hour. So if you ran a factory, how long does it take to make a widget, right? You break that down by sales process or production process in that case. Step 1 takes X amount of hours, step 2, and that creates your end product, right? There's no difference in sales and in real estate, right? Everything is a process. It takes time. In order to produce a result like a closing or a listing, you have to put the appropriate time in each category of what's necessary to get to that, right? So what do we focus on first? What's the process? How do we get through a sales cycle in real estate? So here's what I'm going to tell you. Listing is no different than a buyer. So the same exact theory applies because we list buyers and we list sellers. You'll learn that concept as you go through this process. Many agents don't list buyers. Okay? I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying it's wrong. List your buyers, sign buyer broker agreements with them, okay? You'll find out the skills and techniques to do that. I'll tell you, everyone, if you don't list your buyers, the first thing that's going to happen to everybody, and not first, at some point in your process, you're going to have somebody walk into an open house and buy a house without you. It will happen. And it's terrible. It doesn't feel good. Okay? List your buyers. Have them sign a contractual agreement that they will work with you after showing them your value. What is your value in the process? So there's a funnel, and the funnel looks like this. The first thing we have to do is just have this on recall. We have what are we in business for?
Leads.
Lead generation, right? The first thing we have to do is lead generate. Okay. How many people do you need to talk to get a lead?
Depends on who you're talking. Like the quality
Absolutely.
of the people you're talking to.
Yep. Quality, the context. Are you cold calling? Are you walking through Home Depot saying, who will sell a house with me? There's a difference, right? Or if I'm at a networking meeting of 35 people that I know and trust, how does that play in? How many people in that room do I need to talk to compared to 100 people at Home Depot? No, start to track these numbers. Start to identify where your efforts are best spent, because it's going to be important to you. And it will determine where your skills are, where your return is, and where you're spending your energy. Okay? So from leads, in lead generation, what's our goal in a lead generation call? Set an appointment, right? So the ratio of number of calls you make and people you contact to the number of appointments that you go on. Now, appointments are qualified appointments. Not like, oh yeah, I'll meet with you, I want to sell in 10 years. Right? We want to pre-qualify these appointments before we actually go on them. I'm guilty as charged. Right? I went on one last week. And I got there in about 10 minutes and I'm going, oh, I didn't do a good enough job pre-qualifying this appointment. I should not be sitting in this room. And I sped through the appointment to try and get through and out. I made the connection. I was still very courteous. And I moved on. And now I'll follow up until they're ready. But I went on an appointment and they weren't ready to list. They weren't in the right mindset yet. They're thinking about it, but they're just not there yet. They still have another 4 to 6 months before they're going to do anything. Okay? What's after that?
Listing agreement.
Agreements. We want contracts, right? Remember, I said this goes for buyers or sellers. Right? Where do you meet buyers first? Where's the first point of contact that you'll have with a buyer? Open house. So that's finding a lead. Where's your first meeting?
The house. Here.
The office. Why? Qualified? What else? Set the tone? Gosh, I like this.
See what they want.
It's your opportunity to connect with a buyer, determine what they're really looking for, and to listen. Okay? A buyer appointment, you sit down with them for the first time, in my opinion, it should always be in the office. Say that again? Always be in the office. Why do I want it in the office?
Sets you up as a professional.
Yes, absolutely. You get a sign call off your first listing. You're all excited. You go, oh my gosh, we'd love to see this house. You meet them at the house?
At the office first. And you can set up the expectations as well.
Now you will have people that will argue with me on that point to no end. I will not meet a buyer at a house. First time? Absolutely not. So we would be happy to meet with you in the office. It'll take 15 or 20 minutes. We'll go through what you're looking for. Would you bring in your pre-qualification letter when we have that appointment? I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. And then right afterwards, we'll go out and see the house. Is that fair enough? Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Put up a wall, what happens?
They're not ready.
Not ready. They're not willing to open up. Right? Do you know how many times I've gone out to a house and like got to the house and ran around and showed it to them, and they were late and it took them 30 minutes, and I finally open up the house. My sellers are mad because they want to come back to the house, and we get through it and they go, oh, this isn't the one. What else does that do?
Doesn't set your relationship very well.
Poor setup of your relationship. There's no expectation. No, the expectation that's set is, oh, I can call this guy and or this gal, and they'll show me any house I want. Right? What else? They just aligned a negative response with you. How many times do you think somebody calls off a sign and actually wants to buy the house and ends up buying it? It's very rare. I mean, it's just, unless they live in the neighborhood and they know exactly what it is, and you pre-qualify them over the phone, and you know that they're qualified, and you know them personally or whatever it is, 9 times out of 10, you're going to walk in that house and go, eh, it's just not the one.
You got to find out more about them, what their requirements are.
Absolutely. You have to pre-screen them, pre-qualify them, but it creates that identification that you showed them the wrong house, even though they asked for it. It's hard to recover from it, in my opinion.
So say they do call you and they say, we want to go see this house. They come in, they meet with you for the 15 minutes before you go look at it. Are they signing the BRA right then and there before you look at the house?
If they'll open the door and give me the time, absolutely. Like, that's my opportunity to sit them through the whole package. I've already sent them a buyer package ahead of time, so they know what I'm all about. And I go through the whole thing. I say 15 to 20 minutes. If it takes me an hour, that's fine. That's fine. Now, I have a showing assistant, so when I set it up, I have somebody sitting with me. I actually won't even go show the house. My showing assistant will. But I'll close them, sign the contract. Okay, I'll send it off to you. I go back to my assistant. She sends off the contract, and the showing assistant goes out and shows the property. Just so timing and everything else I have going on, but that's my current process. Okay? So buyer agreements, seller agreements. Remember, be very cautious to meet people. And it's for safety. Ladies and gentlemen, meeting somebody that you've never seen or talked to or anything else, I mean, unfortunately, we have to be concerned about this stuff. There's a big case going on in Louisiana right now of a gal that met somebody at a house and she's no longer with us. So just be very, very cautious meeting somebody that you don't know at a home for the first time.
Can I just ask something really quickly along those lines? Because I've considered about door knocking is the very same thing. I mean, obviously, you can leave some details about where you're going to some extent, but what other suggestions would you have along those lines?
So there's apps on your phone now that you might have like a buddy that you can actually find your friend and it will GPS track wherever they are at all times.
Right.
You can just leave that on. I think that actually stays on. There's some of them that stay on when your phone is off. We have several, sorry? Yeah. There are several people in the office that have partnered up, you know, 2 females, and they'll market a neighborhood together. And that's an option too. I mean, I bought my team pepper spray, stun guns, you know, whatever their safety classes at SDAR to kind of keep you in a loop on what you can do. All great things just to be aware of. I've never been put in a poor situation when it comes to the door knocking or open houses, other than potential that somebody's trying to steal something. Has been the worst in an open house that I've had. I caught them, but you know, I'm very cautious when I see somebody splitting up and snooping around and stuff. I'm very careful, and a lot of times we'll have 2 people at an open house. But you know, just be cautious, be safe. And then of course, contract agreements, we go to contracts, right? Contracts are purchase agreements. What does that spit out at the bottom? Your 6 or 30 or however many sales and commissions. Okay? Why is it way bigger up here than down here? Yep. Where do you spend the most energy? It's the biggest piece, right? You spend all your energy on contracts, what happens? It goes away. What do you think the #1 reason why people get out of the business is?
Money.
don't make enough money, but over what time frame?
2 years.
No, 6 months. 6 months. Tenured agents that have been in the business a while, the main reason why they get out of the business is they have this roller coaster effect. They go out, they'll lead generate, they'll find the business, and then, oh my gosh, I've got 3 contracts. Oh my gosh, I need to focus all my attention on these 3 contracts. The sky is falling, the sky is falling. Okay? What happens when you don't lead generate for 60 days because you're trying to get all your contracts through?
And this is the end of it.
Literally, you can go 6 months without a paycheck, right? 90 days later, if you're not lead generating, 90 days later, you will have 0 business, unless you're lucky. Nothing's purposeful about it. So the key is you have to time block your lead generation always. It's always a priority, no matter what. And that's really hard to do. I'm not saying it's easy. You have to do it. Okay? You want to be successful in this, you want to make money and have the dream life and everything else, you've got to plan. You've got to time block. Things can wait. There are no true emergencies in real estate, even though most agents act like everything is an emergency. There's nothing that can't wait 3 hours. Okay? Get your lead generation done. All right. Questions about that? I have a big question. How long can you survive without a paycheck? I don't have to answer it out loud if you don't want to. It's rhetorical. Seriously.
Isn't it more how long do you want to be?
No. How long can you survive? Write it down. Really think about it. What does your life cost right now? What does it cost you a month? How much do you have in reserves? How long can you survive before you can't do this anymore? It's an important number. It's really important for 2 reasons. There's a positive and a negative. If you don't have some money saved up, this is going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge for you to get through, and it's going to be really tough. And I'll tell you that 2.5 is typically someone who's carrying a job and trying to do it on the side. And they can, kind of fumble through a couple transactions a year, and that's it. Okay? It's important that you save some money and have it ready so that if a rainy day shows up 6 months in or something like that, or maybe you don't make anything for the first 90 days, that you're ready to go. Now, I'm going to give you the exact opposite side of that. Sometimes when you don't have any money, it creates extreme motivation and pushes on your why. Okay? And I'll tell you, it's true in my life. When I get narrow or I feel like I'm spending a lot on my business and not seeing the return, motivation goes through the roof, right? And some of the most successful agents, like Sandra getting started, they had a big why and they needed to make money. It was important. They had to get going. Okay, so sometimes that can create extreme motivation as well. So be aware of how long you can make it. And constantly top grade that. Know exactly where you're at, how long it will be, because this is a tough business to get started in, and you're gonna have to hustle in order to do it. And the more you hustle, the faster you'll make money. It's interesting. The luckier you get. All right. So, in the power sessions, this is going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people. Okay. We've talked about how calling leads and calling new people is the single most important thing in your business. Okay, so in Ignite, one of the things that we're going to put out there for you to do is to pick up your phone physically in every single session. Okay, you'll see this in another program called Bold at a much higher level, and Bold something that I've been through it 4 times. It's like, how do I explain? Bold is like lead generation on steroids. It sets a high expectation for your lead generation and gives you really, really fine-tuned scripts so that you can be successful in lead generation on a regular basis. There's a huge amount of accountability. So if you have not explored that as you're getting started, Bold is a great, great program. for you to get into. I take it at least once a year, typically twice a year, just to keep refreshed. So I always learn something new. Every instructor is different. It's certainly a great program for you to take a look at and invest some time and energy and money into in order for you to be successful. Okay. All right. So the simple formula is it talks about why can some agent make 100 calls a day and others via the phone, and because the successful agents follow a simple formula. So they leverage powerful scripts, they build relationships, and not just ask for the business, but they build the relationship first, then they ask for the business, ask from referrals, and come from contribution. All right? This all comes back to your mindset. So when you are in the office in the morning, and it's 8 o'clock, 8:30, whatever time you're going to get into the office. A lot of times I'm in at 7:30. How do you start your day for mindset? What are you doing to energize yourself to get through the day? Start thinking about that. What's your morning routine? Let's go backwards. When you wake up, what's your morning routine? What do you do at 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock? How structured are you going to be on a daily basis? Some people are off the charts. I can walk into some of these guys' offices and they literally have 4:30 to 5 o'clock workout. 5 o'clock to 5:15, meditation. 5:15 to 5:30. I mean, crazy, right? I'm not that structured. I have a wake up time and alarm. I have 3 children that run into my room at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I have a routine that I get through in order to be to the office by 7:30, right? That's my routine. Maybe not the healthiest. There's some things that I can change and fix about. But where do you start each day? Do you start energized? Do you start behind? Are you being reactive or proactive? That's something that I'll talk about a lot, is reactive versus proactive. It's really easy in this business to become reactive quickly, okay? You're reacting to the day. You're doing whatever comes your way. You're not prioritizing. You're not time blocking. It's very easy to get into that slump. So how do you become proactive? Block your schedule. When are you going to wake up every day? When are you going to be in the office every day? Start with small things, okay? You're going to work out in that time? Do you have kids? Do you have other obligations? What else do you have to do? Okay? When you get into the office, what's the first thing that you do? This will matter. Are you checking emails? Are you doing scripts practice? Are you reading a book? Are you listening to motivational tapes? What are you doing when you first get started each day? Okay? And if you're truly time blocking, which I think is super important, time block and build yourself a bunker so that nobody can interrupt it. Okay? If you're going to lead generate from 9 o'clock to noon every single day, guess how many distractions can come in there? I'm guilty as charged, right? My assistant knocks on my door, tries to come in, which I'm training her not to do. What happens? Oh my gosh, I could go down a bunny trail of things that could happen. And I have to work on this before noon, and I've got to do this. And there's no real fires in real estate, so why aren't you protecting the time that makes you money? Right? So in that mindset is also the mindset of who, okay, so let me ask you a question. Who likes to be called by a telemarketer? Nobody jumped to raise their hand, right? Do you answer the calls from telemarketers?
No.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. What do you do when you answer it? I'll give it to my kid. Here you go. Talk to him. None of us really like that feeling, right? You don't like to be sold. You don't like this, aggressive person on the phone with you. And so, there are different methodologies and thought processes on how you make these phone calls and how you talk to people. The goal for every call that I make is something of contribution, okay? Now, that thing of contribution has a wide variety, right? Wide variety of scope. if you're cold calling somebody for the first time, what are the things that you could do to talk to them, to give them something to contribute to them? If you ask them for business right away, right out the gate, what could you do to have a warmer conversation in a cold call?
Tell them about a recent house that's sold.
Yeah, it's a warm up, right? Something that might benefit them in a sale. How would you phrase it?
I just want to let you know about home values in your neighborhood, direction that they're going.
Hi, David. This is Brad Seaman with Keller Williams. I am so excited to call you today. Did you see the recent sale down on 123 Main Street? Man, values in your neighborhood are going through the roof. Have you thought about, or do you know anybody in the neighborhood that's thinking about buying or selling? Right? Change the way that you responded, right? So if I called you and I said, hey, David, this is Brad Seaman with the Seaman team. Have you heard about home values in your neighborhood?
Yeah, they're going up.
Okay. Are you thinking about selling?
No, not this time, thinking.
Right? So the energy and the mindset and the contribution portions up front. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Did you hear about that house that sold right down the street from you? It's a model match of yours. Like, really? I didn't see it. What did it sell for? That kind of conversation changes the way it opens someone up. Okay? Now, if they tell me they're not ready to sell, I'm always going to ask them, do they know anybody that's thinking about making a move in the neighborhood? Sometimes you get somebody that's like, oh my gosh, I've been here 15 years. I love it. You know what? You're just the person I want to talk to. You love your neighborhood. What do you like so much about your neighborhood? Can't believe these homes are selling for so much. Everybody seems to like it there. What do you love about your neighborhood? And open them up, right? Change the way that they look at it, and things will change, right? You'll have a much better conversation with them. And some mornings you come in the office, and that's not the attitude that you start with. But you almost have to trick yourself into having that conversation and taking that direction. Okay? What about sphere of influence? So, like, what if it's a friend of yours? What are some of the things? We talked about a couple ideas. What are some of the things that we can do to come from contribution? Always be thinking about that. Another script that I love is inviting your sphere of influence to an open house. Right? Thought you might like to see this new investment property that's coming up on the market. Have you thought about purchasing something for your own benefit? Invite them, hey, it's open this Saturday from 1 to 3. Would you stop by and come check it out? And talk about real estate. I'll have coffee there. Yeah. Careful. But yeah, you can't, I mean, it's your call. I don't know what the office policy is on that. I've done it before, but I'm a little cautious about people driving away after having a beer. So just you constantly be thinking about how you can contact your sphere of influence and connect with them, okay? Don't forget to ask for the business. It's not a contact unless you've talked about real estate. All right, so powerful habits. As you go through this whole course, one set of habits should reign true through the whole thing. You're going to be learning about scripts, and you're going to learn about how to build your listing presentation and how to win over the seller. And there's so many great courses that you're going to learn, and it's like drinking from a fire hose, right? But the goal is you want to continue having strong, positive, successful habits through learning all of these things. Develop these and continue to use them as you go through your business 5 years from now, right? So on page 31, we talk about 4 different things. Number 1 is grow and manage your database. What does that mean?
And contacts.
Contacts. Your phone's right there. How many contacts do you have on your phone? Do you know? Open it up. Scroll all the way to the bottom of your contacts. Everybody open it. Get your phone out. Do you know? You should know. So go into your contacts and just scroll all the way to the bottom. It'll tell you how many numbers and people are in there. How many?
137.
137.
289.
289.
197.
197. Okay.
1,070.
1,070. There we go. I have over 3,000 in my phone. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Now, we can all say, oh, yeah, but 10 of them are, somebody I haven't talked to in 5 years, and, that person I'm not really a big fan of, and gosh, I haven't talked to my sister and, whatever. Or my sister's not a contact, right? Are they?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
totally.
You haven't talked to them in 10 years?
One of you guys.
Now's a great time, right?
Mhm.
It's been 10 years. We should catch up sometime, right? It's a great reason to get back into it and overcome that limiting belief. Now, here's the deal. You've got 193, 127, whatever the numbers are, right? Those are a great start. Now, how do we grow it?
Look after it.
Okay. You get referrals out of it, look after it, tend to it. We've got to add 10 on a regular basis. How are you going to do that?
Parties, networking events.
Networking events, parties, schools. What else? Cold calling.
Follow-ups.
Follow. Explain.
So somebody's house and follow up with them, maybe get a contact referral.
Referral. So that's more on the referral.
Door knocking.
Door knocking. Yep. All great ideas. Can you commit to adding 10 on a regular basis? Can I show you a quick principle? Nobody's really excited about 10 adding 10
About
people.
10 per
Jeez.
day at this point.
Huh?
10 per day.
Well, so here's the deal. If you could figure out how to add 10 people to your database per day, and you were consistent about it from now through the end of the year, you would have a huge business. Now, what happens? Things get in the way. You drop the ball. You don't follow up on it. You don't continue to do the same habit, right? If you sat down here and you said, look, between 4 and 5:30 today, I'm going to go meet 10 new people. I'm going to get their contact information, and I'm going to follow up with them about whatever. Or I'm going to do an open house 2 times a week to get those 10 people on Mondays and Wednesdays. I'm going to cold call on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'm going to be introduced to 10 more people that way. I'm going to a networking meeting on Wednesday morning. Would that give you 10 more people? What would your business look like? Candace?
Do you have to let people know like that you can add them into your database? Like there's no like HIPAA laws or anything like that that restrict us from.
No HIPAA laws.
Yeah.
Different industry.
Yeah.
There are certainly email marketing laws, cold call laws, etc. You definitely want to ask for permission to follow up. So when you're manually entering something into a database.
By the way, I'm going to be adding you in if that's all right with you. I just kind of tell them.
Do you mind if I stay in touch with you about?
Stay in touch. My script is, would it be okay if I touch base with you from time to time? Super non-threatening. Email goes into the database. They get my video email of me once a month. They get some stuff mailed to them if I can get their home address.
So we talked to neighbors when we were doing open houses.
You got what?
Referrals from the neighbors. We did open house and
Yeah.
I was talking to the neighbors.
What kind of referrals?
Some lady knew, they wanted somebody in that neighborhood with kids because of a bunch of kids. She knew somebody that wanted to move over there. So.
Perfect. That's an addition right there.
Yeah.
You have a sign-in sheet at the open house
Yes.
for the neighbor themselves. They might not be ready to sell now, but
Right.
so you should get the neighbor, permission to call the new person, get their contact information. So you should be asking everybody that you talk to for a referral too, especially if you've done a face-to-face of some sort with them.
What do you do if they say they don't want to be contacted? Like obviously respect their wishes, but at the same time, can you still say the same thing? Like, do you mind if I reach out during holiday or during birthday?
Well, you can always ask.
Okay.
If somebody says, I don't want to be contacted, they're going to stop before they give you the contact information. They're not going to go, here's my phone number and my email. Please don't contact me. Right? We've been conditioned not to do that. You'll get that, kind of iron gate in open houses where people are just like, no, I won't give my information. And so that's a different class on how you would address that. We have a policy that basically we've set up so that somebody's standing at the front door with an iPad, and it makes it really hard for somebody to say no. And if they're adamant about saying no, I will not give you my information. We've taken it both ways. We've actually not let people in the house before, which is an interesting play. We've also had people blow up and get really mad that we won't let them in the house. And then on the other hand, I've also made them very uncomfortable. So you won't sign in after asking 3 times. I literally follow them around like a puppy dog and look over their shoulder the whole time. Just literally follow them around the house until they're uncomfortable and they leave. So it's all in, you know, if they don't want me to follow up with them, they're not my buyer anyways. Next.
So if they give you the email on when they're first coming in, that's your license to add them into your database then?
They've signed off on it by putting it on my iPad. That's why I do it on an iPad.
Okay.
So from the iPad, it actually has a disclaimer at the bottom that you agree to follow up.
Okay, so it's all in how you scripted the sign in.
So it works well. Different teams do it a different way. Different agents do it different ways. Some just do a manual. Some have multiple agents working the same open house. You have to kind of play with it, see what suits you. It's uncomfortable, and you know if you do it right. And you know, Debbie is on my team. She does most of my open houses. She's like this warm sweetheart. Like, oh, so who's this? Who's the one that's going to sign in? Hands it to him. Oh, thanks so much. Starts talking to the wife. You know, and I'm like, sign in, please. I mean, I literally am no good at it. Like, sign in here, please. And like, well, we don't want to sign in. So I have to work on my energy when that's going on. Away from open house. So we're talking about 10 people. So we've talked about several different ways on how to get 10 more people into your database every day, right? The statistics are this. For every 12 people that you know that are in your database, if you do it correctly, should produce how many pieces of business each year? No. I would love that. 12 people would give me 144 pieces of business. I would be rich. Between 1 and 3, it's 2. So if these are people that you know, they don't have to necessarily trust you. I'd say they probably should trust you. But you know, you're following up with on a regular basis. You're doing what's called a 33 or 36 touch with them. They're getting information from you. You're calling them on a regular basis. They should produce 2 pieces of business for you on average. Now, some might be your best friend. I've got a really good friend of mine who's never referred me. Just not his thing. Doesn't know how. Don't think I'm ever going to get any business from him. I'm okay with that. But then I have somebody that I never expected. I've now sold 8 different houses to people at the zoo. I've never met the guy that referred me in person. I've never talked to him on the phone. Craziest thing. And now the train has just referred me over and over and over again. And I attribute over the last 2 years to that one guy I've never met 8 pieces of business, or 7, or whatever the number is. Pretty crazy, right? So treat them all with the same dignity, and don't be disappointed when somebody doesn't or somebody does. This is the average, okay? Now, of people that you haven't met, what are the numbers? How many people do you have to put in your database that you've never met before to get 2 pieces of business?
That's a lot of people.
Interesting, right? So you have 100 and, how many?
I didn't, it doesn't
You couldn't
tell
find
me
yours.
how many.
How many did you have, David?
Sorry,
How many people did you have on your phone?
289.
289. That's this one. You work it right, you get those in your database, you start following up with them appropriately. 289 people divided by 12 times 2. Math. Yeah, a number goes up there. Can we agree that it's much greater than this one? Why do you think I work on my sphere of influence way more than I do cold calling? They produce way more referrals for me. Okay? Prospect. Okay, so now here's the next thing. And I'm going to pass this around. It's kind of fun.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
That. Is that 100 contacts or 100, say, cold calls?
That is 100 contacts.
Okay. Make 100 calls and you actually talk to 20 people. You make 500 calls to get that.
you are exactly right on your ratio. 100 people, 100 calls, or 100 phone numbers will typically get you to 20 people, and that will get you to 100 contacts over. If you're on a dialer, it's about 5 hours, 4 hours to get to that 100 contacts. If you're manually dialing, obviously it's a lot longer. Okay. The next thing is follow-up. So here's a very impactful thing. And I see a box of notes back there that Scott's working on, which is good. Shouldn't be doing it in my class, but I'm like that you're writing the notes. Follow-up notes are really impactful. Okay, why is a follow-up note so impactful?
They're interested.
People don't do it anymore.
Yeah, you're showing you're taking the time to reach out.
When you get your stack of mail at home, what's in it? Junk, right? 90% of it. If there's a handwritten addressed first class envelope that's a different size, what do you do with it? You're going to open it, right? We're reinforcing a conversation. So if we add 10 people to the database on any given day, what do you do before you go home that day? Send out 10 cards, as many as you can. Okay? So 10 is a great number to do every day. You will make an impact, and you will certainly have a great follow-up in your next call on most cases. So that can also include, let's say you have an interaction with somebody that's already in your database, just a good interaction. You hadn't seen him in a while, you said hello. Follow-up note? Okay. What if I taught you and you walked away and went, wow, gosh, I really took a lot of great nuggets away from that. Follow-up note? I'm not begging for follow-up notes, by the way. You don't need to. Sure. Right? Now, if I'm in a class this big and I didn't say, hey, Scott, would you pass out a thank you note to every single person in class and make sure that you write me one before we leave here today? What kind of impact is that? But if I walked away from here and gave you the suggestion, mark my words, if I'm suggesting that you all write me a thank you note today. How many thank you notes do you think I'll have by the end of the day? I'm not blaming you for not writing the note, right? It's just not a practice. And we forget, and we have other things, and we're busy, and our cell phone rings, and so on and so forth. It just doesn't happen. If you make it a practice, it deepens relationships. So you're deepening a relationship. Even if it's somebody that you've never met before, you're deepening a relationship with that person by sending them something handwritten. Okay? So start investing in boxes of cards, have those handy, and write them on a regular basis. If you make that a practice, people remember. I still remember the first class I taught in here, have the note. Somebody wrote me a note, and I have it. And it was a very prominent agent in this office that sat in on my class. He wrote the note. I keep it in my drawer. He doesn't even know I have it. Okay? But it's just a really interesting impact that you can have, and especially when it's heartfelt and you're really, working to build that relationship. The last thing is know your market. So previewing 10 homes for sale every day in person per week. How you gonna do that?
Can you say that again?
Previewing 10 homes every week in person.
Schedule it.
Schedule it. There's caravans that you can go on. Open houses on the weekends. Just pop in, look at pricing, understand dynamics of what's going on in the market, watching those homes. What is that doing for you?
You're learning your market.
Not exposure, you're learning your market. Okay. You might meet some agents along the way or have some interactions, but the most important thing there is understanding what the market's doing. You can go back and look at that home that you previewed and say, okay, here's what it sold for at this time. Here's how long it took to sell. Here's the things I didn't like about how it was presented. Things of that nature so that you can fine tune your own ability. I love popping in on open houses to see how bad the agent is in the open house, because a lot of times they're really bad. And they just and I pretend, a lot of agents know who I am, a lot don't. I'll just walk in sandals and shorts and see what's going on, see how it works.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. I was doing a lot of open houses for my wife every weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Just popping in, looking how they do the open houses.
Yep, it's fascinating. It's fascinating how good some are, and
some are good and some aren't.
You know, when you do your, I mean, when you visit open houses, you have to tell yourself you're an agent.
No. I mean, if they ask you, I would tell them.
Oh, because I was talking with Tanya the other day, and she said, no, you have to give them your business card to let them know you're an agent.
In an open house?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're spying and trying to figure out how people, if you're doing reconnaissance for your own business, I'm not going to tell them who I am unless they ask me.
Yeah.
How do you stop the mail blasting again? How do you stop them?
Set up a fake email. I just have a random Gmail account that I can give. So they don't know who I am or know my name or anything. Be whoever you want, right? Now, do I think this is a practice you're going to do for the next 6 months and faking out people that you're walking into their open house? No. You might take a Saturday and go, gosh, what are other people doing? I'd like to see how they approach me. And I'm going to pretend to be a buyer. And even if you tell them before you leave that you're an agent, for me, I'm doing reconnaissance. Do I feel like I need to tell them that I'm an agent? No. I don't do this every day. I mean, truthfully, I haven't done it in years, but just something to see what is out there and to understand how other people are doing it and what you might, feel pushed back by. You might see that I'm forcing somebody at the door to sign in and they're blowing up and throwing stuff at me. Who knows, right? But it's good for you to get feedback and see what's going on there. Okay. Hey, I wanted to send this around. How many of you know Tanya? Okay. So let's make an impact, right? I'm going to send this around. If you just write a little note to her, wish her well. She had a big car accident. So hopefully she'll be back in here soon, but I wanted to send her a little something from all of us. Okay. All right. So how many days a week is everyone working right now? 5. In real estate?
Well, 5 to 7, I mean, depending, chunks here and there on the weekends.
Okay.
I wouldn't say there's any day when we're not.
Ignite says you should be doing your daily 10-4-4 6 days a week when you start. I would throw it out there that if you really want to be successful in this business, you should be working 7 days a week until you get up and going. How strong is your drive? You should be making these contacts on a regular basis. Now, I'm not suggesting that you work yourself into the ground, but this is the crucial moment. How many, out of 10 people, how many people fail in real estate? 89%. 89%, 9 out of 10, right? So how do you overcome that? Work. You do the right things. Do things in your 20%. Take 7 days a week. Go out and make calls 7 days a week until you figure it out. Okay? All right, so we're growing our database by adding 10 people. Where are you putting them? CRM. Who has a CRM? What is a CRM? Was it $39.99 a month? Probably. So eEdge, Keller Williams has a program called eEdge. On your assignment, in the first day, you get your user account and name to log in to KW Connect, as well as the back end of KW if you're an agent here with the Market Center. You will have access to your eEdge platform, I believe, instantly. And that is a place where you can put people into a database with an automatic follow-up system for you. Okay? Every database needs work. No database is perfect, but it's a place that you can put them in there so that you have a place to go back to. Worst case scenario, you don't have access or you don't like the way that the system works, get them in your contacts. Figure out a way to notify yourself to follow up with them on a regular basis. Get them somewhere. If you don't have something running for you, and it's on sticky notes and stuff like that, you're gonna fail. I'm still guilty of it. I'll write it down on a sticky note, it doesn't get it in my database right away. I know it needs to, that a lot of times will fall through the cracks, okay? Prospect 10 people in your database, okay? You should be connecting with at least 10 people in your database every day. And I argue that you should be adding 10 people to your database at least every week. At least every week, okay? If you could add 10 people to your database every day, you would have a monster business in 12 months. Follow up and write 10 notes from all aspects. Might be somebody you talked to, you met with, somebody that you set an appointment with, interacted with, whatever have you. And then know your market, reviewing 10 homes a week. I'm going to put something out there. Do not get caught in the caravan trap. Okay? You can go on caravan. That's okay. Caravan can be incredibly time-consuming and unproductive. The caravan is when a bunch of agents open up the homes that have recently come to market or had price reductions so you can see them. You should do it for the benefit of knowing your market, not to chat with a whole bunch of agents. Okay? I don't go to caravan. I haven't been to caravan in 2 years. I pay my dues to be a part of it. I'll go to pitch a listing once in a while that needs that extra attention because it's unique. Caravan is off the list for me or my team. Okay, knowing what's on the market, what's active, what's coming up really soon, that's our focus, not what's caravan. Okay. All right. Questions about that? How are we going to track this? How are you going to track it?
Log calls and stuff with the appropriate.
Log your calls. I suggest there's probably a tracker right in here. There's a tracker, get my tracker now, daily 10-4 on page 30, is it 33? 34 on mine. No, it's on both. Can track how many of these you're doing. Okay, super easy way to do it. Paper works, not rocket science. If you're doing 4 different activities, you could draw a line down the center, line across. This could be contacts. This could be notes, right? Making sure that all gets in there. Figure out a way to track it for you so you're keeping yourself accountable. The other thing is you have gonna have a coach in the market center who's gonna be helping you through and getting you launched, right? You have somebody that you're accountable to, like Tanya. You also have each other, right? Get each other fired up, making sure that you're doing the right things. The best accountability is somebody that you're a peer with that are both committed. If you both get committed to doing the activity and you're calling each other on it and being sincere, it's a great way to do it. If you don't find someone in the office, what about your spouse, significant other? What about your kids? Want to get real? The best thing that I've ever done is told my kids that I'd take them to Disneyland if I met a goal. And here's what Daddy had to do. They'd ask me about it daily. It's awful. But you know what? It kept me accountable to it, right? It kept me focused on what that was. All right? So this is a KW My Tracker. You have access to that if you'd like to use it. Do the paper method, whatever you need to do. And then obviously keep each other accountable in it. All right, so we're going to do, I don't know that I'm going to get through this whole package, huh? It's a long package. Okay, so we're going to go through a couple scripts. So I'm going to spend about 5 minutes talking about some scripts and use of scripts and their benefits. We talked about most people don't love scripts. They think they're annoying. Here's what I'll tell you. Scripts are a key part of any sales position. You own a business, you're selling over the phone, you're in person, you're doing a listing presentation, it doesn't matter. It's all scripts. Okay? Now, how do you internalize the best scripts possible so that you can win and be successful? Okay? So here's a couple of scripts that we can read out loud. So I'm on 35. We're all going to read this together. All right, everybody there? All right, number 1. Did you find everything you were looking for? Go ahead, look around, and please let me know if I can help you. I see you admiring that large screen TV. Are you looking to have one in your home for the big game this weekend? What are those? Scripts. Okay, I'm going to try and recall some good old scripts. Money is the root of all. Is that a script? Positive or negative? Negative. It's a negative script. Script. Right? That's ingrained in our brains. Do you say it? Do you believe it? If you say it enough, you will. It's pretty crazy how it works. Okay. So we're going to scoot down here and say, since we are the first in the business of lead generation, what are we really saying about our job? Fill in the blanks. Talk to people about their real estate needs and the needs of people they know. Okay. There are two different ways of doing this. We can be entrepreneurial or we can be purposeful. So you can be entrepreneurial, just chat up anybody who crosses your path. Real estate comes up, great. If not, oh well. Right? You can walk through Home Depot, we can just talk to people. How many times do you think real estate will come up unless you bring it up? Never, right? But if you're purposeful, walk through Home Depot talking to people about their real estate needs, how many times is it going to come up? Every time. Wow, what do you know? Right? There's a balance between this. Like knowing exactly who you want to talk to, blocking time to communicate with them, and be prepared to have great conversations. Now, I'm not telling you guys to go to Home Depot and start talking about real estate. People do this though. It's not unheard of, and they even give stuff out. They normally get kicked out of Home Depot. It's another way to connect with people, right? Where are the ratios going to be though? Here or here? 100 to 1, right? Okay, so which one are you doing? As you're preparing to make phone calls or to make contacts, how are you going about doing it and what are you going to do? So this is why scripts are so cool, okay? A great script is 100% customer oriented and the benefits are about the customer through every point in the conversation. It's all about them, never about you. If you learn this early on, this is so impactful. You make everything about the customer and about them and how you can service them, they will respond in a positive way in most cases. Okay? So scripts will make you move from entrepreneurial to purposeful very quickly. All right? And every top agent, where they tell you they do or not, use scripts every single day. Everything we say. Okay? All right. Who has who has some limiting beliefs about scripts? Who doesn't like scripts? Oh, that's me. What's your limiting belief about it?
They're not my words.
They're not my words, okay? Anybody else? Cheesy. Okay.
Yeah, sales, not sincere.
Yeah.
Not sincere. I hear that a lot. Okay. Why? Why do you think you have that perception of it?
I don't have a perception, but I think that's not my perception. I think you gotta know the people you're talking to first.
So I beg to differ with you.
Yeah.
And I actually say the opposite. You don't know your scripts well enough. Because scripts are meant to help you make them your own words and be sincere and come from a place of contribution. So if you have a script, when we read it the first time, a script, it's going to be awkward. It's going to be clunky. There's going to be very poor voice inflection. You're not going to know how to present that information in order for it to be impactful. Just like me standing up here. I'm reading to you, and I told you I don't like a lecture, right? I'm reading to you out of the book. Those parts are kind of slow and a little bit more boring, right? It's kind of more monotone. I haven't read that paragraph before, so I'm trying to present it to you the best I can. I'm reading it the first time. If I'm up here telling you a story, and I've ingrained the script in my story, what's the difference?
They are your words.
They are my words. Absolutely. I've learned all these bold scripts and ignite scripts, and they're in my blood, so that every time I use them, I'm passionate about it. I know exactly what I'm going to say and how I'm going to overcome that objection every time. Do you think my listing presentations sound pretty much the same every time?
Yeah.
It's pretty darn close. Sometimes I'm like disgusted with myself because it's like I'm making the same point to the same person to close the deal like every time. But I'm so passionate and sincere about it. It's like, okay, sign here. It's really interesting. And the fun part about it is there are differences and changes, and you have to take different routes in order to get those closings, but that's what's so powerful about it. So if you fail to learn the script, what are 3 main negative consequences about it?
You will not get your listing.
No listing. What does that lead to?
No money.
No money. What does that lead to?
No job.
No job.
No future.
No business. I'm going to change your word. No business, no future, no car, no house,
No food.
no food. I tell my kids I have to go to work every day so that they can eat. Right? And they go, huh? Only 2, 4, and 6. They don't quite get the concept. But it's like, I go to food to provide. All right, go to food. I go to work to provide. I need food. So memorizing and internalizing are 2 different things. We can memorize a script and know it. By the time you've gotten to the point of internalizing that script, it's like second nature, right? You can spit it out at any time. So internalizing scripts. When I talked about mindset in the morning when you get started, do you think scripts is a good idea to start the day? Every day? It's an awesome way to start your day. It's a great way. And even if it's the same script from now until the end of the month, that you do every single morning, how well will you know it by the end of the month? Remember, it's small increments. It's small things over time, right? Internalize the first script. Maybe it's for sellers. Maybe it's your cold call script. Maybe it's a contribution script for your sphere of influence and what you're going to say. And make sure when you're doing scripts, you're doing it in a positive way with a smile on your face. And if you can look in front of a mirror, it's even better. It makes you smile. It makes you pay attention to what your facial expressions are, and it comes through the phone. Okay? All right, so wrap your mind around learning the scripts, and learning the scripts will make it great things happen in your life, even if you have limiting beliefs about them. All right, so talks about some memorization steps, reading, repeating, reading again, saying it, say the entire script. Read through that. How you internalize it is up to you. This is a great way to help your mind recognize the script, internalize it. And then if you need to learn inflection, say it to someone else. Say it to a spouse, say it to somebody here in the office so they can hear it and look for those points of sincerity. Do they believe you when you say it? They should. All right. So memorizing the scripts, we talked about that. Any ahas that you've taken away from scripts? Light bulb go off at any point. You're like, oh, scripts might work.
When I didn't have a response to someone that gave a commission objection, went away thinking, crap, I should have had that at the ready.
Yep.
Kind of thing. Walking away from a conversation that could have gone a different way because I didn't have.
So had you internalized, so you had an aha moment that went, had I internalized the script,
that's why
I would have
scripts
been
are
ready.
important.
Oh yeah.
It's not just being friendly.
Overcoming objections are all scripts, and that is a key way to get yourself in or out of a listing agreement or a buyer agreement or whatever contract you're in. Okay. I want to teach you at least 1 or 2 scripts, so you have them and you can get started with them. Number 1 on page 43. Okay, we're going to go the boring. Is everybody okay on time? I know I'm going over, but I started a little late. If you need to sneak out, I totally understand. For those of you that want to go through some scripts with me, I'm going to finish up in probably 10 minutes or so, if that's okay. Is that fair enough? Okay. So number 1, let's all read it together, the boring monotone. I mean, make it as silly as possible and just be as boring as you can. Okay, seriously. No voice inflection, monotone. Ready? Hello, this is Brad. Do you have a moment? I'd like to share exciting news that I have become a real estate agent with Keller Realty. With this new partnership, I have all their knowledge working for me. Plus, my clients get all my enthusiasm and hard work. Sharing with you because of the news I'm going to sell you to help my grow results. Okay. Pretty boring, right? What can we change? Excitement. Plus, my clients get all my enthusiasm and hard work. Right? Let's do it again. Put a little voice inflection in it. Ready? Hello, this is Brad Seaman. Do you have a moment? I'd like to share the exciting news that I've become a real estate agent with Keller Realty. With this new partnership, I have all their knowledge working for me. Plus, my clients get all my enthusiasm and hard work. I thought about sharing this with you because I knew you needed someone to help me grow my business. Can everybody stand up? Did you know that scripts work better when you stand? They do. Loosen up. Ready? Hello. This is Brad Seaman. Do you have a moment? I'd like to share the exciting news that I've become a real estate agent with Keller Realty. With this new partnership, I have all their knowledge working for me. Plus, my clients get all my enthusiasm and hard work. I thought about sharing this with you because I knew you would be someone to help me grow my business. Were you listening to yourself, or did you hear me talking loud? I've never done the script in my entire life. It's the first time I read it, just like you guys. Okay, so as you learn and internalize, how does it change? Try it one more time. With as much enthusiasm. If you need to shout and I can't hear myself, that's fine. Okay, ready? Hello, this is Brad Seaman. Do you have a moment? I'd like to share the exciting news that I have become a real estate agent with Keller Realty. With this new partnership, I have all their knowledge working for me. Plus, my clients get all my enthusiasm and hard work. I thought about sharing this with you because I knew you would be someone who would help me grow my business. Is it changing for you? I'm not telling you you're going to walk out of here and now they're your words, right? But if you did this 20 times between now and the end of next week or the end of the month, could you make them your words? Of course. It's just natural. At the end of the month, you're not even going to read this, right? I have a set of scripts in front of my office, in front of my desk, that sit there so that anytime I can reference it. I haven't read them in so long, I haven't needed to, right? It's all about the internalization of the script. Who do I call? Now, I haven't been cold calling in a while either, so maybe it's time for me to open up my script and start calling. And remember that cold calling script, okay? So that's one to get you started. There's also discussion on the right about a real estate app, which is a good way to get their information, okay? So in a phone call, even if it's a past person that you've known, someone new, you always want to figure out a way to get their information. How do you do that? You give something of value, right? So for you, brand new, what do you have to give as value? An app, right? What else? You talked about them, come on. Can I be a resource to you, right? Is there anything that I can help solve for you right now? What about your home? Are there any vendors you're looking for? Think about what always come from that contribution point, and they will give in return. And then just don't forget to ask for the business. Okay? You've ingrained in their brain something of contribution. Make sure you ask for it back in return. Okay? All right, so we've done some practice on scripts. We've talked about big why. You guys can all sit down now. I'm not gonna make you stand anymore. Here's one thing, and I went 15 minutes over just because we were a little late. Everybody's good with it, I cleared it. One thing I wanna make sure that everyone is doing is prioritizing their time, okay? This is a constant battle. So it's been a constant battle for me since I was a kid, but you know, it's something that is so important in this business. Where do you focus your energy and prioritize? And I told you you're going to be drinking from a fire hose. There's going to be so much information that you get over the next couple of weeks. Prioritize your daily activities to make sure you are still producing. You're finding new clients, you're creating relationships, and that you are following up with people. The trap here is you get to the day of presenting your CMA or your listing appointments, and you go and you spend an entire week building a listing presentation. Trust me, I did it. Okay? If you don't have a single client to present a listing presentation to, what are you going to do? Okay, so it's all good information. Take it in, prioritize what's important. And we've clearly established today what's number one.
Lead gen.
Lead gen. Lead gen, lead gen, lead gen. Focus on it. don't give it up. Okay? If you don't give that piece of it up, the rest of it will fall into place. There are plenty of people here in the office that can help you throw together a listing presentation really quick. Okay? Make sure that you are focused on that, on the lead gen, and the rest of it will fall into place. Okay? Some recommended reading. The one thing is a book by Keller Williams, Gary Keller, who's our president. It's actually a #1 Times bestseller, New York Times bestseller. I had a friend that's in the bookkeeping world that just told me, hey, have you read this? I'm like, yeah, like 6 times. It's a really easy read. You know, if you decide you want to pick something up after hours or something like that, so it's a good one, and it's going to tie right into what we talked about today. Okay, it's scripts, focusing on one thing that you're going to do that makes everything else really unnecessary. Okay. All right. We talked about prioritization and time blocking. Your calendar, protect your time. Make sure that if you're going to be prospecting between 9 and 11 or 9 and noon, whatever that time is, make sure you protect it. Build a bunker, keep people away. Okay, block it out in your calendar. Whether it's paper, in your digital calendar, make sure that you're protecting that time. This is the key one that I fight all the time. And the time and what I utilize it for changes all the time, but always focused on building more business, and what I'm actually creating as income needs to be blocked on a regular basis. Okay. Your calendar. So upcoming. It's different than this, isn't it, Mary? Than what's in here? Our actual calendar for
Ignite.
Ignite.
Yes, we have a flyer that you have in the sleeve of yours.
So on the inside cover, you have a flyer for what the modified schedule is. It is not what's in this course material.
Yes.
What I like about this one though, it does talk about the different missions, and kind of the schedule of that. So make sure you're getting the mission resources in that packet that's in your front as well. Who has any questions about today? Anything that's burning that you'd like to address? What can I answer for you from my experience?
How was your second year?
Really, really good job.
How did you do your second year?
How did so my second year, gosh, that's a really good question. So I closed, my first year I closed 7 transactions in the worst market you could possibly be in. I started in 2008 when the market, just after the market crashed. It was tough for me in the first year. In my second year, I went on flipping houses. I think I closed somewhere in the 18 range. That included my purchases and my sales, and I became an investor in a lot of those too. And then from 2009 to 2012, I did a lot of volume. But a lot of it was partnered with other agents who were taking the lead on the listings. I was focused on acquisition at the courthouse, short sales, things like that, remodel, and then staging and preparation for listing. So I was doing a lot of the middle between the acquisition of the property and the resale. That included, managing funds, and I had 2 large investors at that time.
One more question. Your first year, your first transaction, your first listing of closing.
Yep.
When did it happen?
When did it happen?
Yes.
How long into when I started? I closed my first deal 60 days in. I started in June, middle of June, and actually working in the business. And I closed my first one at the end of August. So about 60 to 75 days. I remember she didn't list with me the second time. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions I can answer for anyone? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to Brad for stepping up. Those of you who don't know, when Tanya got in an accident, we were kind of put in a tough spot to fill in for her, and he was absolutely willing to come and step in, especially for the first one, which was kind of really at the last minute. It was not his fault that he didn't know it started at 2, and I can confirm that. So a huge thank you to him and all of you guys for being here. It really speaks to the commitment that you have to your business, and I'm here if you have any questions about your mission packet or anything like that. The office will be closed on Monday, and I will be here on Tuesday. You guys know you can reach me by email. And then we'll start back on Wednesday at 1. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you. That was great.